Good evening, everybody. The October 8th, 2024 Liquor Board hearing is now in session. All hearings of the board are now transcribed and stored electronically. These transcripts, serving as minutes of the hearing, are accessible for review by scheduling an appointment with the board. I now make a motion that the transcripts of the previous board hearing held on September 10th, 2024 be accepted as the board's minutes for that date, and I ask for a second.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Duffy. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So passed. Mr. Praley, please.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jimmy Praley. I serve as the board's counsel. A couple brief announcements before tonight's hearing begins. The first is the commissioners in front of you are all part-time public servants. Each and every one of them has other outside interests. So when your case is called, if you believe that any of the commissioners has a conflict of interest or some sort of perceived conflict of interest with your case, you need to make the board aware of that when your case is called. If you don't, the board is going to proceed forward under the assumption that there are no conflicts whatsoever. Second, the rules of this board provide that for the sake of judicial economy and administrative economy, that the board's counsel can rule on the admissibility of evidence and objections if counsel are present for any given proceeding and objections are made as to a particular line of questioning or to the admissibility of evidence. The chair has designated that authority to me. So if your case is before the board and there's an objection made, sometimes rather than the chair listening to the objection, turning to me for advice and me advising the chair, I will simply make the ruling, and that ruling will stand as the ruling of the board. Otherwise, if your case is approved tonight by the board, please keep in mind that that's subject to all legal requirements being fulfilled before your license can be picked up. After your case is called and a matter is approved, you can contact the administration to discuss what open matters may be for any particular license. With that, those are all of the statements that council has tonight, so I'll turn it over to Chief Inspector Ford, who can call the first case.
Thank you, Mr. Praley. Good evening, everyone. Our first case is Garton LLC, Jeremy Hoffman, member, Christina Hetrick, member, Gregory Anderson, member, Chief Inspector Jim Ford, Inspector Mark Mucklebauer. This is a Class D beer, wine, liquor, dancing, and Sunday license with outdoor service located at 849 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146. The license is unrestricted. 1, violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 3, Section 3.05, Sanitation and Safety, regarding violation notice number 1605 by Inspector Mark Mucklebauer, dated June 5th, 2024. 2, violation of the rules and regulations of the Board of License Commissioners for Anne Arundel County, Chapter 4, Section 4.18, alterations regarding violation notice number 1605 by Inspector Mark Mucklebauer, dated June 5th, 2024. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please come forward. Remain standing if you could, and raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. You may be seated. And Inspector, starting with Inspector Mucklebauer, if you could come up to the microphone, please, and state your name and address for the record.
Inspector Mark Mucklebauer, Sector 13, 2011 Commerce Park Drive, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank you. Mr. Dales.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Chief Inspector, members of the Commission. We're going to admit guilt to the violation of the two rules.
Mr. Dales, I'm sorry. I apologize. Could you please enter your name and address?
Phil Dales, Dales Associates, Land Use and Licensing Law, 238 West Street, Annapolis, Maryland, here on behalf of the licensee.
Thank you. And sir?
Jeremy Hoffman, 104 Stone Point Drive, apartment 413, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Greg Anderson, 205 Light Street Avenue, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you very much.
I believe there's a third licensee.
The third licensee is not able to attend tonight, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 of the 3 that were able to attend. Ms. Hetrick was not able to be here.
Causes a little bit of a problem, Mr. Dales. 3 were summoned, and Mr. Aronson, do we have anything requesting a excuse? I do not. Okay. This causes a little bit of a dilemma because the third licensee was summoned. It was signed for by, I believe, Mr. Anderson, signed for him. And then when it was received back at the liquor board, signed by Mr. Anderson on behalf of that licensee, a letter was sent U.S. mail and also one via email. And still no response of that particular person not showing up. So that causes a little bit of a dilemma here because we won't hear the cases unless there is either a licensee present or a letter requesting an excuse, which we usually accept and give. With that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we postpone this case for another month, but also be advised, because the third licensee did not show up, there will be another charge of cooperation placed because of that. And that means that this case will be postponed to the next available hearing. And when would that be, Mr. Aronson? Do you know?
That would be December.
I second the motion.
Mr. Dales, Mr. Anderson, Mr. Hoffman, do we know why the third licensee? Is anybody privileged to explain?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Hedrick lives outside the jurisdiction and wasn't able to make it at this particular time, but we can answer all of the facts. We can provide all of the facts and answer all questions related to the violation with these two licensees, and we'll assure the board and provide written confirmation that the hearing in full has been viewed and by Ms. Hedrick and that she's aware of your rulings tonight. But I believe that we can provide the full explanation that the licensee would have provided without her presence, and we'll ensure that she hears your ruling and will take your guidance forward from whatever it is you decide tonight. And with that, we would ask your forgiveness and please excuse her absence this evening so that we could present an explanation of the case.
Okay. When did you or anybody know that this third licensee wasn't going to be able to show up tonight? Do we know?
I did not know until today, Mr. Chairman. Otherwise, I would have asked for an excuse for her absence.
We have in the past, since the board advertised this, made it a pretty steadfast rule that if a licensee doesn't show up and has not provided a request or an excuse for not being able to show up, which, by the way, I think we've granted every single one of them, but it didn't happen. And because of that, the procedure is that we postpone the case until the next available hearing, and then at that time, an additional charge of cooperation based on the fact that that licensee did not show up. I find it difficult to do this for in every case and then excuse a particular case. So right now I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we do postpone this case to the next available calendar. Now, I'm sorry, did you say something, Mr. Dale?
It would be December 10th.
What does November's look like?
November's is full.
I'll tell you what I'm
Mr.
going to do. I'm sorry.
I just would add that if and when Ms. Hedrick is present for this matter, she would not be providing any of the testimony tonight if that's of any consequence to the chairman.
Understood. I'm going to go ahead with the motion to postpone the case. I am going to make an extra effort to put it in November's docket, which you heard is already full. I don't want to prolong this misery any longer than we have to, but it's not our fault that that licensee failed to do what they're required to do under the law. So I make a motion that we postpone this case to the next available hearing. Looking for a second.
I second the motion based upon the facts.
Okay, thank you. I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You're excused for this evening. Sorry, gentlemen.
Okay, our next case is Starting Gate Liquors, K and S. Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please approach the table. And please do remain standing once you reach the table.
See, Jennifer's coming up.
And anyone who's going to testify, please do raise your right hand.
Everybody, please step up, raise, take the oath.
Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. And we'll start over here to my left with Inspector Matthews. Inspector Matthews, if you could step up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, please.
George Matthews, 2011 Commerce Park Drive, Annapolis, Maryland.
Thank you.
Rowan Buddy Marshall, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board.
Deputy Chief Inspector Ralston, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board.
Detective?
Detective Thomas Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police, Western District.
Sir?
My name is Gian Jane.
And your address, sir? Address?
2508 the State Place, left.
Thank you.
Angela Chen, 8219 River Park Road, Bowie, Maryland.
And I'm Richard Bittner, BITTNER, on behalf of the licensees. Good evening.
And sir?
George Kalindens, home address is 354 Copeland South, Laurel, Maryland.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, it looks like that's everybody.
But I believe, Jennifer, you took the oath, didn't you? Oh, yeah. Stand up, man, and identify yourself.
My name's Jennifer. I'm a manager. My address is 14001 Newman Drive, Bowie, Maryland.
Thank you. And Mr. Aronson, you will have to swear me in as well.
One of the employees.
They had their hands up and they weren't sworn in. They just didn't.
Is that son?
No, not song is
You
Paul.
solemnly declare
He
and affirm
received
that the
them.
testimony is perjury,
He received them.
the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. Chief Inspector Jim Ford, Anne Arundel County Liquor Board.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I had advised counsel for the board that I expected this would be an admission, and we would like to be heard in mitigation.
Mr. Bittner, I'm okay with that, but I would ask that for clarity in the fact that we have more than one case here this evening for the starting gate, would you have an objection if I get a synopsis or a quick review from the officer as to what happened?
Certainly not. No, absolutely not.
Okay, then I'm okay to proceed with that understanding.
All right. Okay, Detective, then we'll ask for a statement of facts regarding the June 8th violation, and then we'll see if Mr. Bittner has any questions, and then we'll turn to the August 22nd and then the August 23rd. Just a brief statement of facts.
Chairman and the board, again, Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County
I'm
Police.
sorry not to interrupt you. I had it as June the 7th,
June
June the
7th.
8th, and August 22nd.
You could be correct. I'm looking at the violation notice here on the front cover. So June the 8th, you're correct.
June the 8th was the date the violation was issued.
Yep, right. Yep. report was on the 7th. Yeah, you're correct, Mr. Bittner. Apologies. Nope. Detective.
It's three separate violation dates, charging similar type conduct.
Understood. Detective.
Okay. Mr. Chairman and the board, Detective Middleton, Anne Arundel County Police. This was on June 7th of 2024, approximately 9 p.m. I was in patrol in the area of the Starting Gate Liquor Store, 3495 Laurel Fort Lee Road. That's in Laurel, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. Drove through the parking lot, observed approximately 35 subjects standing in the corner, the rear corner of the parking lot. The numerous subjects were drinking open containers of alcoholic beverages. I was able to take a short video of the small crowd as many of them started to run through a large opening. It was in a chain link fence that had been cut prior to that evening. There's apartments were on the other side, which is the Tall Oaks Apartments, which is directly behind the liquor establishment. I observed numerous empty and half-full cans of alcoholic beverages that were dropped on the ground. I could detect a strong odor of burning marijuana coming from where the subjects were standing. I continued around the parking lot and notified police dispatch to start me a backup unit. Another officer arrived on the scene shortly after, Officer Kurtz. I also observed a silver Toyota Camry that was backed into the parking space on the parking lot near the side of the store. I could hear loud music playing, observed 3 subjects standing at the rear of the vehicle, observed 3 empty Pacifico beer bottles on the ground and several more full bottles inside the trunk of the vehicle. I advised the subjects that were standing there, that they were littering by throwing the empties on the ground and violating the law by consuming alcoholic beverages on the parking lot. One of the subjects picked up the empty bottles, advised that he was going to go throw them in the trash. That subject never returned, fled the area. The other 2 subjects were asked for identification, produced ID cards from the country of El Salvador. Both subjects were over the age of 21. It was Mr. Ronnie Melendez advised that he had purchased Pacifico beer from the Starting Gate Liquor Store and that they were just hanging out on the lot listening to music. I advised them that they could not engage in this activity and that it was also against the law. The other subject was identified as Jose Arias. They were advised that they could be charged, but they were given a verbal warning for their cooperation. All the trash was picked up around their vehicle, and they understood and advised that they would leave the lot. Officer Kurtz and I continued to the rear lot where the other subjects had fled through the fence, and were able to just make sure that those subjects were gone. At that point, I entered the Starting Gate Liquor Store and identified the manager on duty as Miss Jennifer Zhang. There was a store uniformed security guard at the front door. I did question him about the parking lot, and he had advised me that he only stays on the inside of the store. I asked Ms. Zhang why she allowed the subjects to loiter on the lot drinking alcoholic beverages, and she advised that she was busy and hasn't been checking the lot. I also advised her that there was a trailer on the rear lot that was causing the situation for numerous subjects to be hanging around it. She advised that she was told recently by the liquor board inspector to have it removed, and she stated, "I'll give them back their rent money," and told them that they had to leave. I also asked her about the numerous tractors that were parked on the lot, and she advised that she was giving the owners their rent payments back and were having them move those tractors from the lot. I advised her that she was responsible for checking her lot and not allowing people to drink alcoholic beverages and loiter after they purchased alcohol from her store. She advised that her father was the owner and he was out of the country in China, and when he returned, she was going to have the trailer and the other vehicles moved off the lot. I submitted this report to the Liquor Board and advised Chief Inspector Jim Ford of the observations that happened on that night. And that would be a statement of facts for the June 7th.
All right, thank you, Detective. Mr. Bittner, I know you've already acknowledged guilt. Do you have questions?
We have no additions or corrections that go to the elements of the violations. I just add, I believe, managers were polite and cooperative.
Yes.
And if you've had an occasion to go back, you see those vehicles have been removed.
They were, yes.
Thank you.
All right.
And the trailer was also removed.
But yes.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, do you have questions of the detective at this point?
No questions at this point. The
Okay.
report was thorough. Thank you.
Inspector Duffy, or excuse me, Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Stoops, any questions?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Bittner, if you want to be heard in mitigation on this one, we're going to take them sequentially just to preserve the record.
I would prefer, and I think perhaps for board economy, just to be heard at one time at the end.
Okay, that's fine. Detective, if you could provide us a brief statement of facts on the next incident, please.
Okay, this incident was on August 22nd. It was approximately 9:30 at night. I was on patrol in the area of the Starting Gate Liquor Store, again, 3495 Laurel Fort Meade Road in Laurel, Anne Arundel County, Maryland. I drove on the lot and immediately observed several subjects standing in a circle behind a gray Lexus SUV truck. On the rear lot, the truck had its tailgate down. There was another woman I observed sitting in the parking lot on a small rectangular speaker that was flashing lights and had loud music playing from the speaker. I observed several open cans of beer that I recognized through my training, knowledge, and experience to be open containers of alcoholic beverages. One of the cans was a Milwaukee's Best beer, and there was a small miniature bottle of unknown brand alcoholic beverage on the tailgate of the truck. I activated my emergency lights as I stopped on the parking lot, and the group immediately dispersed with their cans of alcoholic beverages. Several walked quickly through the same cut in the fence that led over to the Tall Oaks Apartments. And one subject later, identified as Mr. Glenn Cherry, walked back through the fence and yelled, "It's okay, I work here." Cherry advised that he was an employee of the Starting Gate Liquor Store and had been working there for approximately 8 months. I asked Cherry if he was on duty at the time, and he stated no. Another subject who walked back towards me stated, "I work here also." That subject was never identified, and he walked off, but he did advise he was Cherry's brother. I was not able to verify that by identification. I explained that he can't loiter in the parking lot, drinking alcoholic beverages, and allowing others to, quote, party on the lot. Mr. Cherry advised that he was aware of this and had been told by the owners that the police had already told them to enforce this law several weeks ago. Cherry advised that he would tell everyone that they could not congregate and drink on the lot. He stated, "I'll try to tell them, but they don't listen to us." I asked Glenn Cherry, I went into the store, identified the on-duty manager as Mr. Christopher Bravo, and Bravo stated that he was aware of the people loitering. He stated that he was the one who said, "I try to tell them to listen, but they don't." I asked if Glenn Cherry was an employee of the store, and he advised that Cherry was an employee. He stocks beer when he works in the store. I instructed Mr. Bravo that he needs to contact the police department when this happens, of people loitering on the lot, so that we can respond up there to assist them to move those people along. So the very next night, I drove through there about 7:30 p.m. on August 23rd. And at this point, I was with another detective, Mountcastle, and we were in a covert vehicle at that point. And we observed 3 subjects standing near the green electrical box, which is also located there near the cut through that goes to that same apartment complex. And I recognized the one subject as Mr. Glenn Cherry, who had identified the night before. I took photographs of the 3 subjects as I sat in the truck. And observed the open containers of Bud Ice, Milwaukee's Best, and Mike's Blue Freeze alcoholic beverages on the green electrical box. Mr. Cherry was holding a beer in his hand. I did not get out and identify ourselves at this point. We just document it with the photographs and this report, and then I also forwarded this to the liquor board. That would be my statement of facts.
All right, thank you, Detective. Mr. Bittner, any questions?
No,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, any questions based on those two dates?
I do have a few. Detective, you were there on all three occasions that we're talking about here personally,
Yes, sir.
and you observed some of the same subjects repeatedly, meaning more than once, correct? And you had a conversation with those subjects, and you explained to them that they weren't allowed to be out there consuming or drinking?
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? Okay. Has this place, in your opinion, been a problem with congregating, especially consuming?
Yes. I was approached by the patrol officers that work that area to bring it to my attention that they were having issues with, especially early on, that trailer that was out in the back was causing a big congregation point, and it just became a other police calls from service came out of the loitering and they had some other police calls, 911 calls come in because of the situation back there.
And it's my understanding that there was more than one vehicle back there. So I believe a camper or a trailer.
Yeah, there was the trailer, and there was another SUV type of vehicle that's been out there several times that I've never verified who it belonged to, but it seemed that Mr. Cherry had advised that he was trying to get it fixed. I never verified who it belonged to.
Okay. On any of the three occasions that we're talking about tonight, did you observe a security staff member of any type outside on the parking lot besides the one that was inside?
No.
Okay. And if I'm correct, the first offense on June 7th was at 9:01 p.m. on a Friday.
Correct.
And the second one, August 22nd, was at 9:30 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. Have you been by this location since these three infractions?
I have.
Have you seen any difference in what's taking place on the parking lot?
Yes, the management has actually reached out to some of the regular patrol officers who work out there to try to create a banning list for some of the regular loiterers that keep coming back to the lot that they were having trouble with trying to move on, that wouldn't listen, according to some of their managers, like Ms. Zhang had said. I can't account for Mr. Cherry. I haven't been out there super recent, but like I said, the trailer was removed and the trucks that had been, I guess, where they were subleasing possibly or whatever, the tractor trailer trucks on the lot, those are all have been removed also. So, but I haven't had any recent complaints.
Okay.
On loitering.
All right, thank you. No further questions for the detective at this time.
Commissioner Dovey, any questions?
No, not any from Corporal Milton.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions?
No questions.
Mr. Bittner, do you have any questions in follow-up to the new line of testimony that he provided?
I do not.
Okay, all right. Well, then we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Bittner. Thank you, Detective. Go ahead and present your client's case by way of proffer, calling witnesses, or a combination of both.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, if I may hand up a packet just, I'd ask it be marked collectively as licensees exhibit number 1. And I direct your attention to the next to the last page and the third from the last page. Their photo, and I'll move these in if the board please.
Those will be admitted.
Their photos, Google Earth photos of the location. And Detective Middleton and his colleagues are absolutely correct. There's been a problem here with loitering. You've heard my clients have tried to address it. They needed to be more aggressive in addressing it. I think while Dad, it's family-owned business, family-operated business, and I think while Dad was away, perhaps they let their guard down. And because they are family-oriented, this is an example of how no good deed goes unpunished and things get spiraled out of control. They had a family that had lost their home, so they agreed to rent space in the back where the trailer was. Thought it would be a win-win. They could have a little rent. These people could transition to where they needed to be. Didn't realize the problems that it would cause. They've since asked them to leave, and they've left. There were truckers in the neighborhood, our truckers in the neighborhood, asked to park their vehicles. Again, the owners felt, the managers felt that that'd be a win-win. They could get some rent. It looked like the parking lot had people on it to be a deterrent. Little did they know that they were going to start sleeping in those trailers and staying there and being there overnight. They're now gone. But the biggest problem, and a problem that they continue to address and the board has tried to address, is simply that back forest area, that grove of trees. It's a park, and it's just an area where homeless people congregate, drunkards, quite frankly, congregate, drug users congregate. And it's facilitated because back in that area, there are even benches and grills for people at the gas station behind to use. So we recognize the problem. We should have sent the officer that we have, and you'll see in the packet, the last page, they pay for a security guard. That guard needs to be and has been. You've heard there haven't been any issues since the last ones in August. So the guard is now being more aggressive in getting out there. Since I got into the case 6 business days ago, we have reached out. In the packet, you'll see my cover letter to all of the surrounding landowners, asking them to join with us, because it's our contention these people move back and forth. They move from the fast foods, they move from the woods, they come in our place. So we're trying to get the whole business community, if you would, involved. We're trying to get the apartment complex behind to repair the fence. We've even reached out, and Ms. Chang has contacted Long Fence and begun to get some estimates, some as high as $49,000 to get a Berlin wall, a Belfast caliber wall up there to stop this, what really sadly is an attractive nuisance. But most importantly, what my clients are doing, and Jennifer can address this, she's ordered some additional signage. She's reached out to electricians to get some additional lighting and some additional cameras, because what they intend to do, one of the signs is going to read, if you're observed consuming alcohol on the premises, you will be banned for 6 months. So that's going to be a sign conspicuously posted inside, and it's going to give them the opportunity, they're looking into having a system that they'll be able to actually download the picture of the person. So if they see someone out there, because people were congregating there, they should have gone out. But what seems to be happening is that impulse, that spur of the moment, person comes in, they're heading back to the apartments, they're heading back to the woods where their grill is, and they're starting to drink on the way and they're coming back. We're now going to have the ability, we hope in the next couple of weeks, to have that under video surveillance at all times, capacity to take their picture. You've heard Detective Middleton tell you how they're trying to get the patrol officers involved. They'll be able to give them the picture, have them charged as necessary with trespassing, but more importantly and most importantly, have them banned from the location. This largely was the cause of a rogue employee. The SUV out there, we understand, was Mr. Cherry's significant other, his partner. She would come and sit out there and wait for him and run errands for him while he was there. He's fired. He's gone. In fact, I understand he came by today and was told to get off the premises. He's banned from the premises. I think we saw him here today, so it's on the record right now. Mr. Cherry, if you're in the audience, you're banned from this location, 3495 Laurel Fort Meade Road. So they've taken strong remedial measures, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, to address these issues. They're issues that need to be addressed. We're trying to involve the whole community, including elected officials. You'll see a correspondence in there to our council person. We'd ask you to certainly not take this family's license, particularly given the actions they've taken to correct the problem. Actions they're taking to ameliorate the potential for future problems, and impose a light fine in light of the expenses they're going to undertake to make sure that they can address the problem the best way they can. Ms. Chen is here. She's happy to answer any of your questions. Our manager, Jennifer Ting, is here. She is actively involved. We've been in contact with the landlord about the fence. My clients, as you've heard, were cooperative at all times with the officers. They've been proactive, and we'd ask you to take that into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner.
Very good, Mr. Bittner. Thank you. I do have a few questions for the licensees that you or the licensees can help me understand a little better. I do understand that that chain link fence in the back is owned by, I believe it's the hotel behind it. Do you know if anybody has approached them about getting that repair made to that fence? It seems to me it would be a whole lot cheaper than the $49,000 putting up another fence parallel to it.
I did not contact the hotel and perhaps I misunderstood that the hotel was not.
It's not hotel.
The apartments were contacted.
Oh, I'm sorry, apartments. Yeah, you're correct. I'm wrong.
Because the hotel doesn't, it's close, but it doesn't abut. Yes, we've reached out. I reached out October the 4th to the owners of the apartment complex. It's 3 pages from the back. So yes, we're trying to get them involved. We've notified Gary Billman, who's the resident agent for the Tall Oaks Apartments.
Okay, thank you. Another question would be, I know from my previous experiences at your location, you had quite a few cameras. Are they still operational?
Mm-hmm.
And where are the monitors that you can see those results of the camera? Where inside me? Exactly, and I think my point is that whoever is running the cash register, which would be I would imagine the clerk on duty or manager, can see what's going on out there.
And he has complained to me, but they don't listen to him.
Okay, I understand that too. Unfortunately, that is your premises. It is your business, and unfortunately, anything that occurs on that property, it's going to fall back on you. And I just find it, I have a hard time understanding why you have a staff security member during certain hours of the certain weekday, but not during a longer period of time that would probably stop or at least slow down some of this activity. And as far as I'm concerned, because of the fact that there's a clerk standing behind that cash register, looking at a monitor, seeing all those people in that parking lot, and I've seen your monitors, again, it's been years, and unless you've changed them, I basically know what you can see. And
Yes, so I told him to call the police if it happens again.
I'm sorry.
I told him to call the police if it happens again, when he gave me a complaint.
Okay, well, that may be a remedy, and I'm sure the county police department would be more than happy to answer your call. We're going to ask them to keep an eye on your location to help you out too, and I'm sure under the circumstances, 3 offenses in a short period of time like this, and it's a problem for them. And I know that wooded area behind there that everybody camps out at is a problem. But unfortunately, that's not the liquor board's authority or venue. So there's nothing I can do about that, except that perhaps Mr. Bittner could have some suggestions as to what you could do. But what takes place on that parking lot is your responsibility. You understand that, and I know you do. Unfortunately, when things like this occur and reoccur, at some point something has to be done to stop it. And I understand Mr. Bittner is pleading that we don't take your license from you, and I understand that. And nobody wants to shut a business down. Nobody wants to hurt a business. We really don't. We're not here for that purpose, and that's not our intentions. But at the same time, the safety, the welfare of the public, right, of your customers who are getting out of their vehicles and walking into your store have to either go through or around. What's taking place on that parking lot shouldn't be. And it's your responsibility as a licensee, as it is every licensee, to protect your patrons as well as your own business. Question-wise, have you given any thought about additional security or additional hours for your security?
Mr. Chairman, we've spoken about that. All these issues that you've just highlighted, when I met with the family last week, we addressed all of that. And that's why really it has to be a holistic approach to this. They're responsible for the parking lot, and I think they get that. There was some reluctance. I think there was really some fear because some of the workers expressed to me they were intimidated by these vagrants who were around. They were apprehensive to call into the assistance of law enforcement because they thought that would get them in trouble. But I've explained to them that they've got to be proactive, and I believe they will.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bittner. I have no further questions for the licensees at this time.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Mr. Bittner, anything you want to add?
No. I think my clients have heard the chairman's words, and I think most saliently, since the last incident in August, there haven't been any that my clients have been proactive and are addressing the issue. I thank you for that.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
Hey, thank you. This is a little bit different than normal single hearing or single violation because it's 3 in a short period of time. What I'm going to do is, do I make each motion separately or can I do it as a combined?
You can either combine or you can make them separately per count.
Okay, what I'd like to do is take each case separately. So the very first one, which is the June 7th, there was 4 violations written for that particular. I'm going to make a motion that a fine of $250 for each of the 4 be assessed, as well as the court cost. That's for the first case. Go to the second, or you want to make a? All right, I'm going to put that in the form of a motion. So for the very first offense, I make a motion that a fine of $250 per offense, which is 4, be assessed. I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion.
Thank you. That having a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, for the second one, I'm going to go ahead and double that to $500 per offense. Make a motion that you be found guilty, again, in a very short period of time. Same charges, pretty much 3 and not 4. I'm going to make a motion that we fine you $500 per offense, because it's the second one in this short period, times 3, a total of $1,500 plus cost, and I'm looking for a second on that.
A second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's $1,500 plus administration cost. And the third and last one, which took place on August 23rd, there are 3 violations for that date. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion, because it's the third one, that a fine of $1,000 per offense times 3. Now, that might seem harsh, but under the circumstances, I think I'm giving you a break, because the motion that I'm putting in is not to take your license from you, suspended or revoked or anything else. So my motion is $1,000 per offense times 3 plus cost. Looking for a second.
A second.
Mr. Chairman, on discussion, I believe after second there's discussion. If I would ask the board to simply consider merging some of that or suspending some of that. This is a significant fine for conduct that occurred in close proximity. It really are 3 different days on the calendar, but it's essentially the same type of conduct occurring in close proximity. And I'd suggest most respectfully that if some of that were suspended, that would create a further incentive, that amount of money hanging over their head, further incentivize them to follow the appropriate rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner. I was thinking more along the line of a suspension, thinking that would get your attention. But I really do understand that you're trying to run a business, and I really do understand that it's difficult for you to go out or to send somebody outside when there's people out there that you're either leery of or afraid of or whatever. You may need to rethink how you do that. You may want to rethink your security. You may want to rethink anything else, but I'm going to let my motion stand. I'm looking for a second.
I believe it's already been seconded.
Oh, I did? Did we vote on it?
Not yet.
Okay. I'm sorry. All right, now that I have a second on the third, I'm looking for a count. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's it, Mr. Bittner.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I really do hope, because we have asked the police department, Corporal Middleton, to keep a close watch on your establishment. And that's for your safety and your welfare as well. So please understand that. Lots of luck to you. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next case is John Liquors and General Store. John Liquors and General Store LLC. Harjeet Mahal, member. Gregory Robinson, member. This license is not restricted. This is for a change of officers. Gregory Robinson, member, and Sukhdev S. Mahal, member, located at 812 Duval Highway, Pasadena, Suite D, 21122. This is a Class A beer, wine, liquor, and Sunday license. Anyone wishing to testify for or against, please come forward, remain standing, and if you could, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And, sir, if we could start with you, with your name and address for the record, please.
Greg Robinson, home address is 514 Pine Tree Drive, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
Thank you.
I'm Harjeet Mahal, and my home address is 41765 Alkins Terrace, Aldi, Virginia 20105.
Thank you. You may be seated.
All right, thank you both for being here tonight. Mr. Robinson, I understand, I know we had a brief conversation earlier today, you'll be presenting the case. So if you want to go ahead and just present the case by way of proper testimony, you can inquire of the licensee or the prospective licensee and present any documentation you may have.
Well, essentially what's happened here is I was the resident, or I am, resident liquor license holder. Sukhdev Mahal was the other license holder. Mr. Mahal passed away, and his wife, Harjeet Mahal, who's next to me, is intending to have, she works in the business and is there every day. And we would like to replace her as the officer and the liquor license holder. And I think we've already given you a package of materials, and you should, included in there should be the death certificate of Mr. Mahal. I noticed in the letter you sent out on September 11th, they indicated you may need to have the death certificate, but I'm sure we get that to you. I mean, I can get that to you if you need it. But essentially, we're just kind of, this is very emotional for Ms. Mahal. But that's what we're here for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
No, but just a quick comment, Ms. Mahal. I've met you many times before in the past, and my condolences
Thank you.
for your loss. It's my understanding you're going to stay on the license.
Yes, I will stay on, and we need to go ahead and substitute Harjeet Mahal for Sukhdev Mahal as both a officer in the company. She's a majority owner, and as well as a liquor license holder.
Okay. Couple more quick questions. The management agreement that I have, I'm looking at it. Kuldip Nag, still?
Not anymore.
No more? No more employed? Okay. I have 7 on your management agreement, 3 are no longer active there.
We provided last year the new list. I think you should have one.
Okay, well, you need to make sure
Okay.
you update this management agreement. All right, and that means you have to make sure that the alcohol awareness training certificates for those people are active, okay?
Yes, sir.
And do you have any other financial interest in any other liquor establishment or licensed establishment in the state of Maryland?
No, sir.
Okay, do you?
No.
Sir? Okay, fine. That's all the questions that I have.
Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snooks?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, again, our condolences.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we accept the change of officers, and I'm looking for a second.
I second the motion, change of officers.
Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, granted. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Our next case is Umai Sushi. Deal Umai Sushi LLC. Seong Kook Han, Managing Member. Inspector John B. Maloney. This license is not restricted. This is a transfer and add outdoor dining. Currently, Linda Wells, member, and Isaac Seo, authorized person on behalf of Deal Umai Sushi House LLC, trading as Deal Umai Sushi House, located at 657 Deal Road, Unit C, Deal, Maryland 20751. This is a Class H beer, wine, and liquor, music, and Sunday license. Gentlemen, if you could remain standing for me and raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And if we could start, sir, with your name and address for the record.
Thank you. Abraham Hurdle, Hurdle, 614 Bosley Avenue, Towson, 21204.
Thank you. Sir?
Sing Han.
Mr. Han's
15
address is
yeah,
1516 Lincoln Road in Shady Side, Maryland, 20764.
Thank you.
Isaiah Hahn, 4482 Ruggles Court, Annandale, Virginia, 22003.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you all. Mr. Hurdle, this is your client's case. You can present your client's case by way of proper testimony or a combination of both, but we'll turn it over to you, all right?
Excellent, thank you. Sitting to my left is Mr. Hahn. He is the proposed operator. He has worked at this location for 13 years. Before I get too far forward, I'm not sure if the board is familiar with Deal Sushi in Deal, Maryland. Has anybody been to Deal? I've been there twice, both times for this. It is not very close by. It's just out there. That's all I'm going to say. It's not a dense area. There's not lots of restaurants. I kept a sharp eye out. There are not a lot of high school students running around trying to buy liquor underage, as far as I could tell. The location, it's a quiet sushi shop. I think it has maybe 45 seats in total, although we are trying to add, I think, about 10 or 15 outside at a couple of tables right in front of the location. Before the parking lot, but just right out front of the front door. Mr. Hahn has 13 years here. He's been in the industry about 25 to 30, to his knowledge. This location is the only licensed location he's ever worked at. They haven't had any violations that we were made aware of. His experience here has been primarily in the kitchen, so he is getting some help from the current operators in terms of day-to-day operations and learning more of the ropes in terms of ordering products and things of that nature, which is going to be a part of his new process as the owner as opposed to just in the kitchen. He's looking forward to that, although he's very excited. The hours of operation proposed are 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. They anticipate being open till 10 a couple times a week, maybe Fridays and Saturdays as business provides. There's about 3 or 4 people on staff. I've spoken to Mr. Hahn about having any and all servers who are out front who are serving alcohol being alcohol awareness certified. He is alcohol awareness certified, even though at the moment he is not someone who handles alcohol in a server's capacity. Alcohol sales at the location make up about 5 to 10% of their total sales. They do have alcohol. They don't serve much alcohol at all of any nature. There's no cocktails on the menu. Beer, wine, soju tends to be what people order if they order alcohol at all. We are asking for the outdoor seating. They do plan to be closed most Sundays. We did have Sunday as an option, but their anticipation is they will be closed most Sundays for the time for him to go see his family. His family does live in Annandale. He does live locally because it's a much easier commute than the Annandale to Deal commute. Again, Mr. Hahn is very excited for the opportunity. He's looking forward to it, and if the board has any questions, we'd be happy to turn it over to them now, or maybe I can address those questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hurdle. Mr. Chairman, questions?
I do have a couple. The pictures showing the Deal Sushi House, or Yumai Sushi House, how many tables are out front? Is it 2 or 3?
I believe it's 4 tables, with 2 of them being benches and then one of them being maybe 2 tops, or 2 of them being 2 tops.
Okay. Mr. Hahn, question for you, sir. Do you have any other financial interest in any other alcohol or liquor establishment in the state of Maryland?
If I may. Mr. Hahn, do you own any other liquor stores or restaurants or bars?
Yeah, liquor store.
You own a liquor store?
No. The restaurant. I'm sorry about
That's okay.
Do you have any other, do you own any other businesses?
Yeah.
What other businesses do you own?
You don't own anything else, right? No business? No business.
No other businesses?
Yeah, first time.
It's the first time owning a business?
Yeah.
Is that right? Wonderful. Thank you.
Sorry about it.
Okay. All right. You have to be careful what you admit to. You're the managing partner, Mr. Hahn, correct?
Yeah.
Are you there? Are you there most of the time?
No, she got a management. The owner.
The current owner is there all the
Yeah,
time, correct? When you take over, will you be there all the time you're open? Will you be at the location all hours?
You work there full time, right?
Yeah, full time. Yeah, full time.
Full time.
Yeah.
Will the restaurant be open and you're not there?
No.
Will you be there all hours?
Yeah.
9 to 11, 9 to 9,
Yeah.
that the restaurant is open?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Hahn, will there be anybody else in the store while you're there as a managing partner? Or are you going to be by yourself most of the time?
There will be 3 to 4 other staffers at the location.
Okay.
We do plan to get a manager licensed and authorized with the board just in case Mr. Hahn ever chooses to take a vacation.
I'm concerned, and I've used the word concerned, about the language barrier or lack of, whichever. I mean, it's difficult enough to run a business, you know, and then when you have additional barriers or problems like that, it can cause problems, and we don't want anything to cause a problem for Mr. Hahn and his business. So I'm assuming then those other people would be someone who would be there to act on his behalf?
Absolutely. The current owner is going to stay on for some time to assist him with the transition into the other parts of the operations. I have spoken to Mr. Hahn prior to the hearing tonight, of course, and I think Mr. Hahn is frankly just very nervous given the situation that we have here. Everything I've discussed with him, he seems very understanding. And I do believe that the most important part, certainly for the board here, is that alcohol will not be sold to minors. He will card everyone. And while this isn't necessarily a rule at all, the danger of such things is going to be very reduced. Again, the location it's a very quiet area. It's a small location. You can see everything in the store from the kitchen too.
It's not my major concern. It's really not, but I mean, I've just seen difficulty this evening, and I just want to make sure he's comfortable with what he's getting into and that he's aware of everything. I have no other questions at this time.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No questions.
Mr. Hurdle, anything you want to add?
I think that Mr. Hahn is a fit and qualified applicant. His family is very eager to help. They speak English perhaps a little better than him, not to, and I think he's surrounded by people who also want to help at the location.
Good, good. Has he applied for the outdoor service?
With the zoning?
Yes.
No, not yet. We have not applied. There's
He
already
have to go-
tables.
He has to go through, I'm sorry. go
Sorry,
ahead.
my apologies for interrupting. They do have tables outside, and they have had tables outside for some time, but there's no alcohol served at the tables.
Exactly.
So
He's
my-
allowed to have tables out there. The county has given blessings to anybody and everybody. But that doesn't extend into the alcohol being served out there. He has to go through an application for outdoor service with us, and that means through other departments will have to approve it. So I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and approve this transfer. But when it comes to the outdoor service, that all is relevant to him getting passing marks through the other departments and agencies. And he can feel free to contact, or you can contact our office. He's going to need drawings with dimensions and seating and so forth. But I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we do accept it with that caveat. Looking for a second.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner. Looking, with that being said, I'm looking for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, lots of luck.
Thank you. And just quickly, the staff at the board has been extremely helpful with this application. We've had a few hiccups, and they've been exemplary.
Well, good, good. We love to hear that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Our next case is for Ashling Kitchen and Bar, Ashling Restaurant Group, LLC. Elise Latavish, member. Saeed Ashrafazed, member. Inspector Jason McCarthy. This is not restricted. This is to add a dancing permit located at 1286 Route 3 South, Unit C, Crofton, Maryland, 21114. This is a Class H beer, wine, liquor, entertainment, and Sunday license. If you could remain standing, please. Thank you. Raise your right hands. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And if you could, please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. Elise Latavish, 1425 Defense Highway, Gambrels, Maryland 21054.
Saeed Ashrafzadeh, 1425 Defense Highway, Gambrels, Maryland 21054.
Thank you very much.
All right, you guys have kind of gotten the lay of the land. You've seen how these go. This is your opportunity to present your case to the board. You can do so by way of proffer. You can question each other if you'd want, or introduce any exhibits that you may have and you want the board to consider. But we'll turn the floor over to you, and then we'll see if the board has any questions. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Great.
Chairman, Commissioner, Chief Inspector, Madam Commissioner, thank you for having us. We are here on hopefully a short and sweet, simple matter to just add dancing entertainment license to our license. We are a small family business, a very small restaurant, less than 120 seats in our restaurant. We've been operating, we opened 9 months prior to COVID, luckily survived it, and we are in a strip mall. We do about 20% of our total business in the restaurant is on alcohol, so we're not a huge alcohol business. However, being a mom and pop and being in a strip mall, we have to do a lot of marketing. And part of our marketing strategy is to try to bring in different kind of events and different things to generate sales and generate a following. Part of that following, we've had some interest in trying to do events. And we did one event and then realized quickly that we needed to come here and add this dancing permit. So that's why we're here right now. Part of the events that we do or want to do is the dueling pianos. So just a couple people with their keyboards in the restaurant, they would just be playing while people would be having dinner. Murder mystery performances, comedy shows, hosted bingos with a DJ. We want to do paired music events with wine dinners. So those are just some of the examples of what we're thinking. All of our events usually would be on a Thursday or a Sunday, which is pretty much our slower times, and we're very family oriented and we close our business down very early. So all of these events would be done by 8 o'clock out and patrons out of the restaurant by 9. So we don't see that it's any nuisance to anyone or should ruffle any feathers. Thank you for your time.
Right,
does the board have any questions?
Very
not
good.
the board.
We'll get to them. No, that was a good presentation. It was to the point and very well presented. I love your floor layout. I mean, it's easy to read, easy on the eyes. But I guess one thing I noticed, and I guess this really brings out the question, do you plan on any dancing?
No. No, not at all.
I thought not, but I wanted to get that out. So by you describing what you are planning, it does fall more in line for that type of physical layout, and that's good to know. Do you plan on, there are certain events that can take place and certain brunches that have to be licensed as far as the type of entertainment, and also just be aware, who you have in there as far as your entertainment. And if you have entertainment, you're getting yourself covered for that, and that I think is important, and that might be one of the reasons. All of your employees that you have that are serving alcohol, do you know if they're all alcohol awareness trained?
Yes, sir, every one of them.
Every one of them. I had 5 of 7, and 2 needed, the board needed copies. I don't know, did we ever get those?
Yes, I believe our bookkeeper was working. Yeah, they're working on us. We got the email yesterday.
Well, you owe us 2 then? Okay, that's fine. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duffy, questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops, any questions? No questions. All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, with that being said, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and accept the adding the dancing.
Thank you.
Please be careful, because that opens up a wide, amount of entertainment. So just be
Yes, sir.
careful. Looking for a second. I'm sorry.
I second.
Thank you both.
Thank
All
you,
those in
everyone.
favor?
Aye.
Good evening. Congratulations.
Thank you
Lots
so
of
much.
luck to you.
Appreciate it.
Good luck. Okay, our next case. Jesse J's Latin-Inspired Kitchen, Jesse J's Company, Jaylene Fonseca, President, Inspector John B. Maloney. This is restricted as of August 1st, 2016, entertainment license for multiple TV privilege only. However, this is to remove restriction. This is located at 5471 Muddy Creek Road, Churchton, Maryland, 20733. It's a Class D beer, wine, liquor with music, entertainment, restricted, and Sunday license with outdoor dining. If you could raise your right hand, please. Thank you very much. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
And if you could, state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Jaylene Fonseca, 2646 Claiborne Road, Annapolis, 21403.
Thank you very much.
All right, thanks for being here tonight. We'll turn the floor over to you. Tell us a little bit about the reason you want the restrictions removed, and then we'll see if the commissioners have any questions, okay?
Sure, yes. Good evening. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman and the board. I have a similar story to the case that was just ahead of me. I am an owner. I own and operate the business myself with my husband, who couldn't be here tonight. He's the chef. Our manager is here with me tonight as well. We've been operating for over 5 years. We were also open 11 months before the pandemic and have survived. And we've continued to innovate and grow our business. And we've developed our outside dining area throughout the pandemic as well. And so what we would like to do is have live music at our restaurant. Also just trying to bring business during slower periods, during weeknights and things like that. We're open Tuesday through Saturday only right now, from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Tuesday through Thursday, and we close at 9 p.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. So we're also kind of early. We're also in that southern Anne Arundel County area, close to Deal, so it is more rural area, more family-oriented area. And like I said, we own it and operate it. And we also have about 20% of our sales are alcohol sales, again, similar to the story before us. So very food forward, but of course we also have our margaritas and our beer for sale. But essentially we would love to add, have the opportunity to have live music at our restaurant outside under our pavilion.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, questions?
Just one or two. Your capacity is 49, I believe, the fire capacity. That's for inside.
Yes.
Right. And what you're looking is to remove the restriction, and the restriction reads entertainment license for multiple TV privileges only. So you want to keep the entertainment license, but not that you want to make sure that it's the full entertainment that you're requesting. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. What kind of entertainment do you foresee having?
Live musicians, maybe a DJ on occasion for an event. And if I could, I would like to mention, I received the Tasting Times and I read it, and I did learn about the dancing restrictions. And so if this is an appropriate place to ask, because I would like to have them play music. I don't necessarily plan on having a dance floor per se, but if people get up and start dancing, I'm not sure where the line is drawn there. But we would just simply like to have musicians on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Again, I'm thinking on slower days because Fridays and Saturdays, you know, it's so busy anyway.
Thank you. The only thing or two things that I would be concerned with is as far as the dancing, this license would not, this permit would not allow dancing. So, and it would be up to you as the licensee to curtail that, to keep that in check. Concerned about residences in the area, any music, the doors are left open, or do you feel that the music may wander outside? Is that in your plan?
Yes, I mean, the music will be outside. I have the residences are outside of the 100-foot requirement, and I'm also very confident that I won't have any issues with my neighbors. I think they'll be hanging out with us.
Yeah, okay. Well, you've answered the questions that I wanted to ask. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops, questions?
No.
Ma'am, anything you want to add?
I don't think so.
Okay. Mr. Chairman?
No,
You did a good job.
thank you.
And I just have one other question. Which of the two behind you is the manager? I kind of had a feeling that was the case.
She runs the show, probably.
Yeah. With that, I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and remove the restriction, which would give you entertainment, with just the caveat to please be careful, because what we give you, we can take away, and we don't want to do that. So just,
Right.
all right?
Yes.
Looking for a second?
I second the motion.
Come on, guys. Okay, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations. Have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
I'm very partial to your burritos, by the way, for the record. Thank you. Next case is Rams Head Dockside. Rams Head Dockside LLC, Paula Mulhauser, member. Christina Gorecki, member. John Degenhard, member. Inspector Scott Harmon. This is restricted. As of June 28th, 2016, 1, signs posted regarding cars, boats revving their engines will be barred inside and outside of establishment. 2, parking lot attendant on Friday and Saturday, 6 p.m. to close, and Sunday, 3 p.m. 3, outside service allowed until 11 p.m. with 2 non-amplified musicians until sundown, and then background music until 11 p.m. This is to remove current restrictions. 1, sign posted regarding cars, boats revving their engines will be barred inside and outside the establishment. 2, parking lot attendant on Friday and Saturday, 6 p.m. to close, and Sunday, 3 p.m. This is located at 1702 Furnace Drive, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21401, and it is a Class B beer, wine, liquor, growler, music, and Sunday license with outdoor dining. If you could raise your right hands for me, please. Thank you very much. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And if you could, starting with you, sir, state your name and address for the record.
Kyle Mulehauser, 409 Grinstead Road, Severna Park, Maryland, 21146.
Michael Lechner, 1356 Wiley Oak Drive, Jarrettsville, Maryland, 21084.
Christina Gorecki, 709 2nd Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Thank you very much.
Mrs. Gorecki, you're the only licensee?
Yes, present tonight.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right. Turn the floor over to you. You guys can go ahead and present your case. If there's anything you want the board to consider, please feel free to pass it up. We'll turn the floor over to you, and then we'll see if the board or the commissioners have any questions, okay?
Thank you. So we're here to request removal of our restrictions from our license. We currently have restrictions stating that we must have signs posted regarding cars and boats revving engines that will be barred from the establishment. We're also required to have a parking lot attendant on Friday and Saturday from 6 p.m. to close and Sunday at 3 p.m. There are also outside service and music restrictions, but we have no issue or not trying to get those changed. These restrictions were inherited by Rams Head due to operations of the prior business, and we do not feel that they're relevant to us. We've owned and operated the business for 8 years now, and we feel that our track record has proven that we're a much different business. We're a family-friendly restaurant that serves over 67% of our sales in food. We're also an outdoor waterfront facility, so our business is completely dictated on the weather. We do over 65% of our yearly sales in 5 nice weather months. Cold weather or even a rainy day has a significant impact on our business. We had the liquor inspector stop by our location on a Sunday in February. He gave us a verbal warning for not having a parking lot attendant, and that's kind of what prompted us to be here. Honestly, we planned to do this years prior, but at the time when he visited, we had 2 cars in the parking lot. So obviously, we felt there was no need for, or really can't afford to pay a parking lot attendant for those 2 cars. I believe that our track record in the county, as well as in this particular location, should allow us to have these restrictions removed completely. We want to have a parking lot attendant when it's necessary, Parking is one of our biggest hurdles at this location. We have someone there at the appropriate times. We actually have them there longer than the restricted hours currently because most of our business is during the day. On a Saturday or Sunday, our volume during the day, over the course of the year, our sales after 9 p.m. are 4% of our sales. So we are not a nighttime bar business. We're a family-friendly restaurant. Can't spit that out. But our attendant is there to help guide customers when they come in. We're in Glen Burnie. There's a lot of big trucks in Glen Burnie. So we try to make sure that they're parked in the correct spaces to allow for the most parking throughout our lot. We direct them to make sure that they're not parking inappropriately on the street. I know there's signage, but sometimes people don't pay attention to signage. We make sure they're not parked in our neighbor's lot. He likes to tow cars. So we are actually proactive and have a parking lot attendant there longer than we currently need to. But those restrictions, the way they're currently stated, really don't feel are relevant for our business. So again, our request is to remove those restrictions completely, but if that cannot happen, then we'd ask for them to be significantly modified so that they do not place an undue burden on our business.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, questions?
When was it that inspector stopped by and you had 2 cars on the lot? February, did you say?
February of this year, yes.
Okay. All right. The restriction was on there, and that's probably why he mentioned it to you. But, and I do understand your situation. I'm just checking. So what you want us to do, or what you would like us to do, is to remove 2 of the restrictions that are on there. One of them being signs posted regarding cars, boats, revving their engines will be barred inside and outside of the establishment. Is that correct? One of them you want removed?
We'd like to. Again, I feel it's unnecessary.
And the other one is parking lot attendant on Friday and Saturday 6 p.m. to closing and Sunday 3 p.m. And you're basically saying that sometimes weather, and I can understand, Jim, you know, November, December, January, February, that being a pretty regular thing. But that's your intention, is you'd like to get rid of those 2 restrictions, correct? Which would leave the 3rd restriction, which is outside service allowed until 11 p.m. with 2 non-amplified musicians until sundown, and then background music until 11 p.m.
Correct.
Okay. All right, I do understand that. The signs, we did ask the inspectors to take photos, and we have those, so we know what the signs are. We also know the long-standing situation between Duke's and your establishment.
I will say that relationship is good at this point.
I'm sorry, I couldn't
that
hear.
relationship is good. It's not what it was with the previous owner. I have a good personal relationship with them. The parking can still be a conflict, but, we communicate very well.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have no other questions at this time.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops, questions?
I do. What benefit do you think it will provide to remove those signs?
The signs aren't a big deal. You know, the restrictions aren't extremely specific. Even the parking lot attendant just says Sunday 3 p.m. So I'm not sure exactly what that meant. But the signage, we have a lot of it. We basically replaced every sign that was there from the previous owner. So there's just a lot of them, and it's just an aesthetic thing. It just doesn't look great. And a lot of our customers probably wonder why we have those signs up. So that one's not very important. It's really the parking lot attendant, which is burdensome from a cost standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Very good.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm a little bit concerned. I'm familiar with your establishment, and you've run a very good licensed establishment, so congratulations on that. I'm also aware of the neighborhood and the residents in that community and how they get very upset when parking gets out of hand and noise, whether it be motorcycles revving the engines or boats or whatever. But even if we were to remove a restriction, you do understand you're still responsible and liable to control those situations when you can. You may not be able to control somebody parking in front of a neighbor 2 doors down because you're not there. But the revving of the engines and things like that, whether you have the signs up or the restrictions on, the responsibility is still yours when you can. I also know how busy you get in the summer, which is kudos to you. So what I'm thinking about is do you think if you took the signs down that you would still have a problem with whether it be parking or revving of engines or anything of that nature?
No, I think the signs have no impact, honestly. I don't think revving engines is a problem currently. I mean, you might get a motorcycle that is a little loud, but we're not getting groups of motorcycles or groups of boats like the previous owner had. So I really don't think the loud engines are a problem. And again, we are very proactive about the parking piece. I mean, we want to have that parking lot attendant out there. We want to be directing people. So we're going to be doing that regardless. I just don't want to be caught in a situation where, again, either off season or even if it's in season, if it's raining, we're just not busy. And I don't want to be forced to pay someone to be out there when it's raining.
When is the busiest season for your establishment? Which months of the year?
Be May through September. I mean, those 5 months would be the majority. Again, I think 67% of our yearly sales are in that 5-month time frame.
And are Friday and Saturday still your busiest days, or has that changed?
They're still our busiest. Sundays are busy as well. I mean, we're definitely very weekend heavy, and that's when we do have the parking lot attendant currently. But again, they're a lot more focused during the day than in the evening. I understand the predicament of wanting to require us to have it, and again, I can only take my word that we have had it during those times, and we'll continue to have it. I don't know how descriptive you want to get in a potential restriction if you want to keep one, but I certainly would like to be able to have the flexibility to be able to make that judgment call as a business.
What I'm thinking, and thank you for that, what I'm thinking is that as far as the signs that are posted, we did get one of your neighbors who was concerned that if the signs were taken down, that would be a problem. That's not saying we agree with that, but we did note it. I'm going to make a motion that we do relieve you of the sign situation, as long as you understand that you're still responsible for the things that these signs, somewhere in the past, one of our predecessors, our boards, felt that it was necessary to do this. And I understand that the establishment has changed, and we're happy. So we're giving you an opportunity, but I think I said earlier, what we take away, we can also put back. So please, with that in mind, if I make that motion, it's going to be on something in which our inspectors and I'm sure the police department will let us know if it's not working. The other part you wanted to remove is the parking lot attendant Friday, Saturday, 6 p.m. and close at 3 p.m. I am a little bit concerned, and I'm willing to, because of the February incident, I'm willing to say that I think we should leave that restriction in place, but only for the months of May through September. Do you think that would be reasonable if I were to do that, or?
I think it's reasonable. Again, the times, I'm not looking to put more restrictions on it, but right now it's 6 p.m. to close. Now we do close 11 a.m. during the week and 12 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. Our sales are so light in the evening time. I'd ask for those to actually, the parking lot attendant actually be done at 9 p.m. So currently what we staff is Friday 3 to 9, Saturday and Sunday 1 to 9. That's what we staff, and it's unfortunately not completely in compliance currently. It's for more hours than what is being asked, but it is during the times in which we feel that it's appropriate to have someone there.
Okay, if we were to take those hours between the months of May and September, May, June, July, August, and September inclusive, and say that you would need to have a parking lot attendant or a staff member. If you don't have anybody out in the parking lot, that's not to say you can't use that person for something inside. But at the same time, if you do have vehicles and whatever, that person is responsible to be outside doing this job. That's the way I'm leaning. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in the form of a motion. So what I'm going to do is relieve the signs postings. You're welcome to take them down. So we're going to remove that restriction, which is number 1 on the restrictions. And the number 2, the parking lot attendants for Friday, Saturday. We're going to take those hours that you suggested. You can talk to our administration, make sure we understand and clarify that. But that also should include Sunday.
Yep.
So where it just says Friday and Saturday here, we're adding Sunday to that. Okay?
It currently has Sunday. It just says Sunday at 3 p.m. is all it says. It doesn't say
Nope,
till
you're right.
when. And the only other question I would have on that is during those months is like on an inclement weather day. If it's pouring down rain on a Sunday.
It's a good point, and that goes back to what I just said. If you have a parking lot attendant or somebody that you're using as a parking lot attendant, you might be able to find a better use for them on a rainy day inside.
Right.
I'm not going to tell you how to operate your business, but it's kind of hard for me to give an exemption with the weather, because then it's a matter of opinion.
Understood.
Foggy weather, is that rain or that's cloudy? I mean, so I'm going to leave that as is, but you have the freedom, if you will, to be able to utilize that parking lot attendant. Again, remembering that you are responsible for that parking lot. Okay? All right, so I'm going to put that in the form of a motion. I'm looking for a second.
I second.
Okay. That scared me. No. All right, I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'm sorry. Yes, May, June, July, August, and September. 5 months of the year.
I think they suggested
need
hours
it.
that they'd like to use, and the chairman said just
Yeah.
incorporate the hours.
I'm willing, but please contact Mr. Aronson soon.
Sure.
So that he can put that in the form of change of the restriction. Okay?
Very
Will
good.
do. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Our next case is Mr. Loyne. Mr. Loyne, LLC. Felipe Fusaro, President. Inspector Earl Barnes. This is for a new license to be located at 504 Crane Highway South, Glen Burnie, Maryland, 21061. It's for a Class H beer wine license. Thank you, sir. If you could raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you so much. You may be seated. And if you could please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Felipe Fusaro, 8318 Farrow Drive, Pasadena, Maryland, 21122.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mr. Fusaro, bear with me 1 second. I'm sorry for the delay, sir. Go ahead. You've watched a couple of these tonight, so you kind of know the drill. Go ahead and present your case to the board. We'll see if the commissioners have any questions, and we'll take it from there, okay?
Sure. Good evening to the Board Commission. Thank you for having me. My restaurant just opened up about 11 months ago. We're going to be 1 year in October 30th. And it's a small owned restaurant, just a few tables inside, I think total of 7. It's more carry-out driven thing. We do have the tables just as a convenience for if somebody wants to sit down and have some food on the place. But like I said, it's a carry-out more driven thing. The ultimate goal, trying to acquire the license, is just to increase the traffic of people, especially in some happy hours, let's say between 3 and 5 or 4 and 6, and increase a little bit our sales. And other than I'm new to the business, and excuse my ignorance at some points, I just, like I said, it's an old dream. My main business is something else, but then it's an old dream that I had, and then it came forward. And then after a long time, now I'm there trying to get the license.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, questions?
I have a couple. I've been watching that. I live in the area, so I've been going by that establishment forever. And I'm familiar with the Willises and people that were there before. I'm glad to see some use come of it. I'm a little bit, I guess, wondering or concerned about the fact that next door you have a Class A packaged goods store. And one of my biggest concerns is you also have a deck on the front of that building. Do you plan on leaving that deck?
Again, as a first-time owner in the food industry, and then I had poor advice for the contractor on doing that deck. I was told that a permit was not needed, and then the inspector from the county came in and said, "Look, this is over 8 inches, and over 8 inches requires a permit." So he put a stop order on it, and then obviously we abide by everything. Nothing was touched, and then I'm trying to fix it and get the proper permit, which is already in motion. It's just like, it took me 7 years to get the restaurant up and running. So imagine. But eventually the permit will be pulled, and then we're going to finish the deck. And I do intend to, if allowed, because I know at the moment my request does not require, is not for the outside service. So, but I do intend to sell alcohol if possible. There is a residence right behind us, and then according with zoning and planning, it has to be at least 100 feet. If it's not, then a variant has to be asked, and then I'm going to go and later on require that. But as of right now, it's just for inside service, and the deck is still being. I'm working on the permit to finish it up, and then start using it once it's completely done.
Okay. If we were to grant this license, which is a new license, well, first of all, do you have any interest in any other establishments that sell alcohol anywhere in the state of Maryland?
I don't. That's the only restaurant that I have.
Thank you. We'll get that out of the way. If we were to grant this license, right now, with the fact that, as far as I'm concerned, the only place that you'd be able to serve alcohol would be inside. Nothing could go outside.
I understand that.
Right, you would need to get outside service approval. You're not going to get the outside service approval unless you have all the permits. And I'm not so sure that we can even give you a license, a liquor license for inside, if there is an open non-compliance because of that deck. Mm-hmm. Have you been in touch with inspections and permits?
Yes. The permit, I already asked for the permit. It's just not fully approved. I got engineering approved because they have like different departments on the zoning for that matter. I got some of the departments approved, but I'm still like I tried to do that by myself with a contractor, and the contractor unfortunately poorly advised me on it. So now I'm trying to get everything, and they asking for more stuff that I have no knowledge of it. So I'm getting people, and I'm paying other people to get everything together and pull the permit to finish it up properly. But nothing will happen outside until everything is done according with the law.
Yeah, well, that is a concern because the deck's there. We could say, take the deck down, then when you get your permit, put the deck back up. I don't want to necessarily do that to you. But at the same time, we have to, if we issue a license or if we grant this license, I think we might need to, we need to make sure that that deck either is permitted and granted and passes its final inspections, or it's removed. Because you can't leave it in limbo, because I can tell you, and you know, and I know, people are going to go outside and they're going to stand or sit on that deck. So that is a concern. Another concern of mine is right next door having a package good place. You put tables out there on that deck and you're inside taking care of business, you're going to have certain people come out of that package goods store and they're going to take advantage of those seats and chairs and tables on your deck. So
it's fenced.
No, please.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
There is a fence around it, and then we're gonna move the tables up and outside and inside when we're closing, so it's not gonna be sitting over there for people to use or loading or anything of that nature. Obviously, I cannot control what people are doing on the other side, on the other property, but we intend to remove the tables so people don't steal stuff. Unfortunately, it happens, and we intend to pull the tables inside every day, move it outside, once the deck is finalized.
Okay.
And right now, it's not. You can even. There is some boards that are not fully finished because the stop order. So there's nothing in there, and nothing will be in there until it's completely done and finalized. I mean, about the tables and seating. Nothing of that will be there until we get the whole deck done. But I do understand the concern and I respect it.
Yeah.
If I cannot have it before, I do understand, and I'll wait until it's finished.
I'm going to go ahead and, well, first of all, that's all the questions I have.
Commissioner Duffy, do you have any questions?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops? No questions. All right, Mr. Chairman.
I'm thinking about making a motion to go ahead and grant this license. But you won't be able to pick it up until such time as inspections and permits, planning and zoning, and all those appropriate departments have given us an all clear on that deck.
That's fair enough.
All right, which means that they either will permit it to stay or get improved or removed. And then once that is resolved, you'd be able to pick up your license. But I'm going to make a motion with that caveat that we go ahead and grant the license. Looking for a second.
I second the motion to grant the license.
Thank you. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
And again, please don't open until you get your license from our administration.
It's not gonna happen, I promise.
Okay, very good. Have a good day, sir.
Thank you.
very
Have a
much.
good night.
Congratulations. Our next case is,
Yep. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to request a 10-minute break. Sorry but need a 10-minute break. Be back then. Thank you.
No, I can just keep going. Well,
all right, welcome back, everybody. Our next case, do we need to gavel back into session? Spirit Shop of Annapolis, Spirit Shop of Annapolis LLC, Kristen Schutz, member, Stephen McCrae, member, Inspector Joe McKernan. This is for a new license located at 2641 Riva Road, Suite F, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401 for Class A beer wine liquor tasting license. Thanks, gentlemen. If you could raise your right hands. And do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. And if you could state your names and addresses for the record.
My name is Kristen Schutz. My address is 506 Paffel Road, Annapolis, Maryland, 21401.
Thank you.
My name is Stephen McRae. My address is 202 5th Street, Lothian, Maryland, 20711.
Thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. This is your opportunity to present your case to the board. If there are any exhibits that you want the board to consider that have not already been submitted with your application package, please bring that to our attention. We'll ask you to bring those forth, but we'll turn the floor over to you and then see if the commissioners have any questions, all right?
Okay. All right, well, thank you for having us today. We're here today for a Class A license. We're looking for liquor, beer, wine tastings, but no Sunday sales. For our new shop, the Spirit Shop of Annapolis. All licenses and permits, so you should have everything submitted. We have everything obtained besides the occupancy permit, as we are waiting for a small remodel of the current location once this is approved. And that is contingent, of course, upon today's decision. So the Spirit Shop of Annapolis, what we're trying to do is do something a little different. We're not going to be your everyday liquor store. We wanted to celebrate the time-honored tradition of cocktail making. Home bartending isn't just a pastime, it's a cherished ritual that brings people together. That's why we will go above and beyond, provide everything needed to craft the perfect drink. From premium spirits to liqueurs to essential mixers and tools, we're passionate about helping our clients unleash their creativity at home. We will also feature a selection of wine and craft beer, and we will focus our selections primarily trying to highlight a lot of the local vineyards, distilleries, and breweries throughout the state of Maryland and Virginia to highlight the local craft industry. Steve and I have well over 30 years of experience in the food and beverage business, myself being the general manager at the TGI Fridays located right here in Annapolis for the last 10 years and 17 years with the TGI Fridays brand. Stephen has been a bartender and a server as well for me for the last 10 years, but he's also been at that location a little bit longer. We are both fully certified in ServSafe alcohol with the state. I'm also a certified proctor for ServSafe and do all the food and alcohol testing for the company for TGI Fridays throughout the state of Maryland as well. I've been doing that for the past 15 years for the company. So we're fully aware of all the compliance and regulations that are in place and understand what is needed to sell alcohol safely. Neither of us have any interest in any other liquor license in the state of Maryland. We're planning on being owner-operators. We don't plan on having any other staff in the first couple of years, of course, while we get this business growing. But we do understand the management agreements and things like that. If that does change over time, we would definitely make sure we have that taken care of.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, questions?
You already answered the one question I was going to ask. That was slick.
Thank you.
So neither of you have an interest, I got it in anyway, neither of you have an interest in any other liquor license in the state of Maryland, correct?
No.
Thank you. You say you're different than many of the retail outlets that you're competing against. Can you explain in a little more detail why you think you're different?
Sure. Like I said, we're trying to bring the home bar back to the home. One thing that I've noticed throughout my travels in Annapolis, there's great selections of wines, there's great selections of liquors, all kinds of different things. You have your places where you can go pick up your 30-pack of Coors Light for your barbecue, or you can go get a premium bottle of wine. But when I try to find the ingredients of like fresh juices and the different things that go into making great cocktails, you can't really find a lot of those mixes that you need, a lot of those ingredients that you need. You can order the tools on Amazon, but you don't really know about them. You don't know the quality of them. So we're trying to bring all those things together to allow people to go home, create great cocktails. And it's safer being at home than it is going out to a bar. So why not do it at home, save a little money, and have a little fun being creative.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Thank you. And no Sundays, you said?
No Sundays.
Correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No, no question.
Commissioner Snoops? All right, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, it's probably the shortest one tonight. I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we grant this license to you. I don't see anybody in opposition or anybody having anything to say, so that's a good sign also. So put that in the form of a motion, looking for a second.
Second.
Thank you. I have a second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much and congratulations. Okay, for our final case of the evening, I'm going to ask that the applicants and their counsel and any opposing counsel come up to the desk first. Anybody wishing to testify for or against, if you could all please stand. We're going to get everybody sworn in at once, and then we'll bring you up one at a time to testify as necessary. So once again, anybody wishing to testify for or against that are the applicants or opposing counsel, please approach and remain standing. If we have enough chairs, you can always sit in the front row. And then anyone else who plans on testifying for or against, also please stand at this moment.
Yeah, we're going to swear everybody in together.
Swear everybody in at once. Thank you. And if you all could raise your right hands. Everyone raise your right hand who is going to be testifying for or against. Do you solemnly swear and affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you. And please remain standing. Actually, if you are here for, please sit down. If you're here for in support, please sit down. We're going to take a count. So I only want people who are here against this application to remain standing.
These are my clients, my witnesses, so.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we get an accurate head count for the record. And then I would also encourage everybody, if you haven't already done so, to sign in on the sign-in sheet, which was in the front hallway. We need to make sure we have an accurate record of everybody who's here in support or in opposition of this license.
17 initial count. Sean, can you give me a count also? I'm sorry, I'm not able to quite see everybody. Yeah, I'm coming up with 17 now. So I think I've got, how many do you have?
17, all right.
Okay.
That's against.
17 against. If you are for this, please now stand up. If you are against, please sit down. If you are for, please remain standing. Against, so we've got 3, 4, 5. Thank you very much. I will now read the case into the record. This is for Three Cheers Liquors, Singh Ventures LLC, and everyone may be seated. Thank you. Tika Singh, member. Ira Career, member. Inspector Scott Montaigne. This is for a new license to be located at 1665 Crofton Center, Suite 19, Crofton, Maryland, 21114, for a Class A beer, wine, liquor tasting, and Sunday license. Thank you, Mr. Bittner. And, sir, if you could begin by stating your name and address for the record.
Yes, Gerald Patnode, 497 Heritage Drive, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Thank you, sir.
Ranjit Hundal, 11313 Marble Beach Road, Upper Marlboro, Maryland, 20772.
Thank you.
Alan Hyatt, I'm counsel to the protestants.
Thank you.
Good evening, Richard Bittner, B-I-T-T-N-E-R. I represent the applicants.
Sir.
Tika Jagjit Singh, 1303 Starflower Lane, Arundel, Maryland, and the partner.
Thank you.
Ira Curry, 22301 Lost Plant Circle, Ashburn, Virginia.
Michael Ginsberg, 8204 Tall Chimney Court, Baltimore, Maryland.
Thank you, everyone. And
John Harrison, 707 Linden Avenue, Annapolis, Maryland.
great. Thank you, everyone.
All right, before we get started, just a couple ground rules here on procedure. As this is a new case for a Class A license, Mr. Bittner will present his client's case first. He can do so by way of proffering testimony or a combination of both. And then at that point, Mr. Hyatt, you'll have the opportunity to cross-examine any witnesses that he calls. After that, we will hear from members of the public who are here in support or in opposition. The chairman has asked me to instruct the members of the public that as the clock is ticking, we have limited time in county council chambers tonight. So while you are authorized to speak in favor or against this particular license, your time will be limited to 2 minutes, and there will be no questioning of members of the public who are there to testify. Additionally, if you are a member of the public who wants to testify, please don't repeat what somebody else has already said. Again, we have limited time, so if somebody jumps you in line and they say something that you were planning on saying, please don't feel the need to repeat it. It has been heard and will be considered by the board in rendering its decision. After the members of the public testify, we'll turn the floor over to Mr. Hyatt, who can present his case in opposition, and subsequently Mr. Bittner will have the opportunity to ask questions, and I'm sure there will be questions from the commissioners peppered throughout the hearing. Does council have any questions before we get started on procedure?
No, Mr. President.
Okay. I do not. Thank you.
All right. Well, Mr. Bittner, then we'll turn it over to you. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Good evening once again. Gives me great pleasure to introduce to you my clients, Tika Singh and Ira Career, as potential business owners here in Anne Arundel County. Mr. Singh, as the application notes, is a resident of Anne Arundel County, lives in Odenton, close proximity to the proposed location. Ms. Career, resident of Fairfax, Virginia. At this time, procedurally, I'd like just to move in the application and the supporting exhibits filed with it. It's a hearing exhibit. Previously, we had filed 4 exhibits with the board, 2 containing petitions, 1 containing the report and the resume of our expert, Mr. Aronson. So I'll move those in, if I may, at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Those will be accepted those will be accepted as applicants 1.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my clients appear before you as sophisticated business persons who've entered into this attempt to obtain a license with full knowledge after reviewing all of their options, and they've settled and decided on hopefully opening an upscale Class A alcoholic beverage license, Sunday sales with tasting for 1665 Crofton Center, Suite 19. Mr. Singh has extensive experience in the retail business area. He was involved in a liquor store in Washington, D.C. Some 20 years ago. Neither applicant has any interest currently in any alcoholic beverage license in the state of Maryland or elsewhere. But Mr. Singh particularly has experience in the alcoholic beverage industry, operating as a partner a liquor store in Washington, D.C. for a brief period of time. He has extensive experience operating 7-Elevens and other retail type businesses. Ms. Career, she retired after 25 years in retail sales. She was the owner-operator of an upscale spa. She has extensive experience in hiring, human relations, payroll matters, and ordering. She, along with her husband, Naveed, who's here present, will be involved in the day-to-day operation. It'll be Ms. Career who will be more involved in the day-to-day operations, the actual hands-on, with Mr. Singh providing support to his partner. no other investors, no secret partners here, no manufacturers or distributors involved in this license. What is the applicant's hope is that this will be a upscale, hands-on type of retail point of sales establishment. The market recently, would proffer to you, in other areas of retail sales has moved into e-commerce and internet commerce, and many businesses have moved out of a brick and mortar operation or reduced their footprint in brick and mortar type of stores. That's not true in the alcoholic beverage industry here in Maryland, given our inability, our limits in terms of delivery. There's been some changes recently. But as the board certainly is aware of, the alcoholic beverage industry has always been a hands-on, product-oriented type of industry. And that's what my clients hope to bring to this location. And that's important, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, for the board to consider as we present our showing why particularly this license is needed to accommodate the public at that location, and it's desired by the public at that location. Yes, and Mr. Hyatt will tell you shortly about all the other point of sales, alcoholic beverage point of sales, establishments that exist as the crow flies in close proximity. He will say, I think 2 miles away is a fair distance. I think 1.7 miles is a fair distance. But the opponents, I suspect, will argue that the market is saturated, the market doesn't support another point of sale alcoholic beverage store, Class A license. What's unique, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, to this location is its location. It's on Route 3, northbound Route 3, and you'll hear from our witnesses, I expect in a moment, that the location, the Route 3 corridor running north and south through the county, bordering Prince George's County, is bisected by Defense Highway and Route 424, creating actually square or quadrant type market areas within the general Crofton area. So we don't have a linear marketplace where someone can just simply drive up and down. It's very difficult to cross Route 3. It's very difficult to get around. So this location will alleviate a great deal of traffic issues because it will provide a one-stop shop in what is a large shopping area. And that's important for the board to consider most respectfully. This is not a neighborhood shopping center. This is a destination shopping center, and you'll hear more about that from Michael Ginsberg, the commercial landlord's representative. So this is a unique location in a unique area that presents unique problems with the consuming marketplace that this location will address because of its easy access in and out on Route 3, and because on the northeast side of Route 3, south, you have Fat Boys, about 2 miles north, AA, about 1.7 miles. Everything else, west side of the highway, very difficult. So with that brief interlude, I would like to call my first witness. Please. Mr. Ginsberg. Sir, if you could identify yourself, please.
Michael Ginsberg.
And where are you employed?
KLMB.
And what is KLMB and what do you do for it?
We're a fully integrated, full-service commercial real estate firm based in the Mid-Atlantic. I specialize in retail leasing and retail leasing only. I've been at the firm for just under 8 years, and I'm a partner at the firm.
Sir, what can you tell us about the location at 1665 Crofton Center, Suite 19?
So I've been leasing the Crofton Center for several years now, probably close to 5. And as I'm sure everyone here knows, it's seen many iterations. We've gone from a Shoppers Food Warehouse anchored center with a large Osaka buffet to now what is a brand new Giant Food with an Ace Hardware and several other users. This is the last vacancy that we have in the shopping center. And when we look at retail leasing and merchandising a shopping center, we look at what's the highest and best use for a shopping center and the specific space and how it plays with other tenants. The inherent traits of real estate that we take into account in a shopping center are visibility, access, and parking. No landlord wants to hinder any of that, and any landlord that enters a new commercial lease with a tenant has to understand the financial background, the wherewithal, its ability to succeed, because there are tons of investments that are inherently involved in a transaction, just as we have this one. Crofton in general is a really, it's a growing market. It's actually a very regional market and has a very regional draw due to some of the tenants that are there. I'm not sure if people here are aware, but Raising Cane's actually opened one of their first units in the state of Maryland in Crofton, in one of the, which is important to note, median pieces of real estate, a former Boston market, so you do have both north and southbound access to them. And American Eagle actually opened their first out-of-store or out-of-mall location, you know, an enclosed mall. They opened one at Wall Chapel where the movie theater is, which is a little indicative of the market and how we see it from a retail perspective. Our shopping center in general is very unique in that we have at home. The closest locations for other at-home locations are Glen Burnie, Maryland, and Glen Arden, Maryland, which are both inherently far. We have actually one of the busiest gold and successful Gold's gyms in the entire chain throughout the entire country based on Placer AI data, which tracks cell phone data. And we obviously have a very successful new Giant Food who they're very happy with and has really been serving the community well. Because of these large draws and at-home inherently not being located everywhere like you may see a Starbucks, our center trades very regionally, drawing people from Odenton, Annapolis, PG County, you know, Bowie, etc. So inherently the center just trades very regionally. So like I said, highest and best use, we look for cross-shopping and synergies between tenants. You know, we want to make a shopping experience a one-stop shop. We want people to come to the shopping center, do their grocery shopping, go to the gym, maybe grab food at one of the restaurants we have, and picking up spirits and beers as well is included in that trip, as it is many other shopping centers that I work on, and I'm sure as many would agree, everywhere. So by having this here, I would argue that it would mitigate traffic by reducing the amount of stops one would need to take throughout the remainder of the community. It's important to note that the owner of the shopping center is a publicly traded company, Kimco Realty. They're not just going to sign up any one-off operator and say sink or swim. They do thorough vetting of operators, history, financials, etc., negotiate strong leases to ensure that they're not just signing anyone up to occupy space in their shopping centers. They have shareholders that they have to report to and need to show that they are really qualifying and putting the right people into their shopping centers. I think another important thing to note is that just over a year ago now, I actually toured and then issued a letter of intent for 424, the closest liquor store to the shopping center, to actually relocate into the subject space that we're discussing today, thereby further proving that they see a need to expand offerings and show that there is a demand for a larger liquor store, spirits, wine, etc., within the shopping center, within the community. More space is necessary. They need more parking. They need the synergies with the shopping center, etc. So a couple other important tidbits to know. As we all know, grocery stores, I think, are permitted to only have one license in the state of Maryland. So obviously most of them in our state do not have them. I think each one is allowed to have one. But as we all know, and as we frequent grocery stores, we don't see liquor store or beer and wine sales in these grocery stores. So having a liquor store or spirit shop in a shopping center is very common and very, very friendly, and what we look to do from a merchandising perspective, just viewing things from a retail perspective. The market's very unique in that you're driving pretty fast, so you can travel very quickly on Route 3. It's not a back road where you have 25 miles an hour. There's no speed cameras. The speed limit's like 40, 45, maybe even 50. And the market's bisected by the median, which is not necessarily easily crossed over. So you'll see like a darling jewel of our industry, Chick-fil-A, who would never normally do this unless they have really high-performing units, open 2 units within such close proximity to one another because they're both one on the north side and one on the south side. As a crow flies, they're very close, but driving, it's not nearly as close as you would think. And that's something important to keep in mind, because from a retailer's perspective, that's not something that they would do hardly ever, with the exception of this type of market because of the medium. With that being said, from the 2 liquor stores that are located at the intersection of Defense Highway and Route 3 up until the intersection of Route 3 and Davidsonville Road, there are no other liquor stores with the exception of 2 at that intersection to the south until you get to Davidsonville Road and Route 3. And I guess lastly, as I'm sure we all know, construction costs have been significant since COVID, which has led to a lack of new construction in our retail environment. There's a new strip center going to the north, the Starbucks, and I would imagine that there'd be a lot more new construction along the Route 3 corridor and throughout Crofton if costs would permit. I would imagine we'd be seeing a lot more of these cases should that new construction be going up, just understanding that beer, wine, liquor stores, etc. in general, as we see it from a retail and merchandising perspective and to serve the public is a very important and imperative thing to have, just merchandising synergies, and typically work better when they are in shopping centers with other co-tenants, as I've mentioned before. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Ginsburg, you described the Crofton Center as a regional shopping center?
Absolutely.
You wouldn't call it a neighborhood shopping center, would you?
No, I mean, I could give other examples of neighborhood centers, but that is not how anyone that specializes in retail real estate would classify the shopping center.
And the Crofton Center being a regional center, as you indicate, draws from a larger catchment area.
Absolutely, as I said, with At Home being the only location until you get to Glen Burnie or Glen Arden, that has a huge draw, and Gold's Gyms being actually one of the busiest in the entire chain, has an extensive draw.
Now, you indicated that you believe this license, if granted, would continue the synergy that you have among the other tenants in the center, but it would not lend itself to any impulse buying, like if liquor was, alcoholic beverages were readily available in a grocery store or a 7-Eleven, gas station, that type of thing.
Correct.
Is that correct? Now, as a partner in KLM, you've done research into what's the best use for this particular location, Suite 19?
Absolutely, and I think my client, Kimco, would agree that this is one of the highest and best uses, if not the highest and best use for the space within the shopping center, and we've maintained that from the day we actually pitched the listing to the former owner, identify subject categories on a merchandising plan with who would fit best in this vacancy, and at the time, I think liquor store was at the top of our list.
Now, do you believe there's sufficient demand in the region for this license to be supported by the community?
Based on my experience and understanding of the market and how things trade and the growth, yes, I do believe so.
In fact, if I understood your testimony correct, prior owners of 424 Liquors sought to expand into this location?
Absolutely.
Thank you. That's all the questions that I have.
Mr. Hyatt, questions?
Thank you. The owners of 424 Wine and Spirits, when they went to look at your center there, were talking about relocating from their current location on Davidsonville Road to the center?
That's correct.
So there wouldn't be 2 licensed establishments if they were to move there?
That's
There'd just be the one, right?
A much larger one, correct.
Right.
Probably
And-
triple the size.
And you would agree that a much larger package store in your center would greatly impact the current 424 Wine and Spirits, wouldn't you?
I don't know necessarily that I would agree with that.
You know that 424 Wine and Spirits is about 900 feet away from the proposed store?
Not from the proposed store, perhaps from the shopping center itself.
Is that right? Okay, well,
At least I'm not great at math, but I can't imagine that it's 900 feet, but you could be correct.
Okay, well, let me just show you this blow up of a photograph here.
No objection.
Okay.
Familiar with this location?
Absolutely.
You know that 424 Wine and Spirits is here.
Mhm.
And that's the entrance to the
Correct.
center. And the proposed store is there.
This far
Right there.
corner, the furthest
Yeah.
part of the shopping center
So
away
can-
from the liquor store.
Clearly visible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, so, Mr. Chairman. Is the entrance to the shopping center. This is 424 Wine and Spirits. Backs up to the shopping center parking lot. This is where the.
Is this a proffer or testimony or what is?
I think he's explaining the photograph the same way. We couldn't see it from, I don't think the commission could see it from that.
Yeah. See it?
Yeah.
Mr. Ginsburg, you're not an expert in the field of a need analysis or accommodation of the public that a alcoholic beverage license applicant has to prove. You're not an expert in that area, are you?
Correct.
You're a real estate broker with KLNB, and you would earn a commission on this transaction if the deal took place, right?
That's correct.
So you have a financial interest in this.
Correct.
And so you mentioned that Crofton is a growing market. In what way has Crofton grown population-wise? Do you know?
To my understanding, there's residential growth and new houses being built in addition to new businesses moving in, stores that I had mentioned. That's
But
my
let's talk
understanding.
numbers. Do you know numbers? What kind of
I can't recite
population
any
growth?
numbers. No, I don't.
Did you analyze the effect that this proposed license would have on other licenses within the vicinity of this property?
I did not.
But you're confident that you have a regional center, even though it's a grocery store anchored shopping center, right? You call this a regional center?
Most regional centers probably have grocery stores that are the anchors. Correct.
Would you care to guess what the where the patrons would come from to
It's a good
to this
question.
proposed liquor license?
It's a good question, and I think every retailer, from my experience, views a trade area very differently. One may draw a trade area 5 minutes from the site, perhaps a Starbucks, who can open many stores on top of each other. Others may draw 10, 15, 20, even as an at-home may draw 30-minute driving or as a crow flies radius. It just totally depends on the retailer.
Given the number of packaged goods stores in the vicinity, you think people will drive 30 minutes to the store here?
It's a good question, and you reminded me of a point I forgot to make, in that, the shopping center is pretty close to Prince George's County, where there are limited and restricted Sunday sales on liquor. And I do think that will help drive further patronage to this liquor store in particular, not to mention that there are tons of retail businesses in the shopping center that share a lot of synergies with this use. Yes.
Right. So you think people will come up from Prince George's County and drive past several other package stores to go to this one?
Perhaps if it's efficient with their route, with being grocery shopping, going to the gym, perhaps picking up food, going to the dollar store, amongst other things, yes.
Have you done a financial analysis on the expected volume of sales out of the 6,000 square foot store?
No, that wouldn't be my my role in this transaction.
Wouldn't the store be expected to pay a certain percentage of their gross in rent?
That's not how we would view it. If there were a percentage rent in the deal, perhaps, but we wouldn't look to collect percentage rent, especially I think is important to note, while we may see some information on stats and numbers, who's to really know what numbers being collected with the high amount of cash transactions that happen? We can't really say what a liquor store does in sales anywhere.
So it's fair to say that you have an applicant that's willing to pay the rent that you're asking.
Correct.
And you think it's a use that fits there, notwithstanding any other stores that are in the market area. That was how you arrived at an agreement with these people for the space, right?
Well, I wish it were that simple, but yes.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Just a couple of redirect, if I may. you admit this? Is it admitted?
No.
So for identification purposes, number one picture here, Mr. Ginsburg. Mr. Hyatt asked you to identify 424 Liquors back in the back corner.
Correct.
That, while in this picture it looks deceptively close, it's actually across Route 424 from the Crofton Center.
Correct. The view from this is actually at the entrance to the Crofton Center, and the view is actually pretty nice because it shows how far away that this proposed space is the furthest in the shopping center that my client owns as possible as it can be from the 424 Liquors.
From 424, Route 424, you can't see the liquor store at the back of the Crofton Center, correct? Would it be visible?
No, absolutely not.
And there's no direct access from your Crofton Center to the neighborhood shopping center of where 424 is located.
No, and due to the lack of parking in that shopping center, I just don't even know how it's feasible to have a restaurant, a 7-Eleven, and a liquor store in there as it is.
And again, your commercial space, you describe it as a regional shopping center.
I think anyone in my space would classify it as a regional shopping center, yes.
Drawing from a much wider trade area than a traditional or neighborhood shopping center.
Yeah, and as I had mentioned before, we use new data in our field that some tracks credit card and other tracks cell phone, where we can actually see where the patrons are coming from for the shopping center, and you can see that it is quite large.
Now, it's true, if the space is rented, you'll earn a commission, that's your job.
100%.
But I believe you also indicated that you work for a publicly traded corporation and you have certain due diligence obligations to potential tenants.
To clarify, I don't work for the publicly traded company. I am representing them in this transaction. My employer is not publicly traded. The owner of the shopping center is, and that is who I am working on behalf of in this transaction.
So on behalf of them, did you perform any due diligence in regards to my clients and their success at this location?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, it's a rather stringent process with any publicly traded REIT, which is a real estate investment trust, which Kimco is. Credit reports are pulled, history, perhaps a call with the operator or operators to vet them out and their likelihood of success, and it needs to be presented to a board internally at Kimco, approved, and then a thorough lease is negotiated. So it's not that like any person can just come in and open a liquor store. And it's not like it's a mom and pop landlord either. It's quite the arduous process.
Thank you very much.
Any recross, Mr. Hyden?
Mr. Ginsburg, is it fair to say that Kimco, the publicly traded REIT, doesn't care about the impact that this store would have on any other store within the market area? That's a fair statement, isn't it?
Unless they owned another shopping center where they had a liquor store, which I don't believe they do in that immediate vicinity.
So that's an accurate statement.
I think so.
Yeah. And so you said you weren't too good at math, and I'm going to show you one drawing here. Get this out of the way. This shows the distance. I'm going to offer this in the record in a little bit. But this parcel 60 is 424 Wine and Spirits. You would agree with that, right?
I would agree that that's the back of the parcel that 424 is located on, not the actual...
That is the parcel that is located on, right?
Correct, and not where the storefront of the store is located.
The storefront faces Davidsonville Road, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then the line goes to the proposed Three Cheers, right?
Not quite. It goes to the middle of the building that that Three Cheers is proposed to be in.
All right.
If it were accurate, it would be on the far corner of that building.
Okay. So from the center to the center is 900 feet. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that from the parcel line of the shopping center that 424 is in to the location of, that's probably where the pizza shop is located, is 909.1 square feet, or square feet.
I have no further questions.
In light of that, if I may.
Sure.
Mr. Ginsburg, there's no direct access from Crofton Center to 424 Wine and Spirits, is there?
Correct. And if my memory serves me correctly, the only issue we've had with that shopping center is that because of the lack of parking and accessibility in that shopping center, I believe at times over the years they've actually used the space adjacent to At Home in our shopping center to load to the back of the tenants in the back of their shopping center.
You're referring to the shopping center, the neighborhood shopping center where 424 is located.
Correct,
having
using
parking
the space
problems.
at the shopping center that I lease.
Crofton Center has not had any parking problems, have they?
We probably are well overparked based on what's required by code, especially by having At Home. A furniture retailer is historically, and you can see for yourselves, we don't love to lease off of them because they just don't draw much traffic to the shopping center. So when you go to the shopping center, you see an empty parking lot. It doesn't show well for a prospective tenant. Fortunately, it bodes well for tenants that need parking, which we have an abundance of.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Hyatt?
No.
Okay. All right, great, thanks. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions of Mr. Ginsburg?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy, any questions for Mr. Ginsburg? No. Commissioner Snoops? All right.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ginsburg. Board, please call at this time Mr. John Aronson. Mr. Chairman, I previously submitted Mr. Aronson's report and his resume. He has testified before the Board of License Commissioners before, and I'd offer to move him as an expert in land planning, land use, and long-term use planning.
Okay. You're okay with that,
No
Mr. Hyatt?
objection.
Okay, great, thanks. Yeah, he'll be so qualified.
Thank you. So at this time, I'll call Mr. Aronson. Sir, you've been sworn. If you could just give the board just a very brief summary of your background.
Yeah, I've got a master's degree in urban and regional planning from the University of Virginia, which I always hate to say in Maryland, but I was planning director for the city of Annapolis for 18 years. I've got at least 35 years. My first planning job was in 1981. So I've been working in municipal planning, and then since 2013 as a consultant.
Thank you, sir. Now, at the request of my clients, did you undertake a study and an evaluation to be able to render an opinion as to whether or not this proposed location of a Class A, 6,000 square foot Class A liquor store at 1665 Crofton Center, Suite 19, is needed to accommodate the public and that the public desires this location?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I looked at it in terms of all the required findings that the board has to make. But that's one of the findings that I looked into.
Can you summarize for the board the basis of your investigation and what your opinion is?
Sure. You have to remember that it's the totality of the testimony. I mean, Mr. Ginsburg described the shopping center, so I'm not going to get into that. There are a couple things that this site actually enjoys. I think the first is, and Mr. Ginsburg touched on it, is its location on the east side of Maryland Route 3. Maryland Route 3 is designated as a principal arterial highway. It connects I-97 with Route 50 and then points further north and further south. It serves a regional and through traffic as well as Wall Chapel, Crofton, the new Two Rivers development and other areas, residential areas in the vicinity. 3 lanes in each direction and turning lanes at certain intersections. The State Highway Administration average daily traffic maps puts this around 75,000 vehicles a day. They go up and down Route 3, which makes it very attractive for businesses to locate with that kind of volumes. The proposed location of 3 Cheers has direct access to Route 3 via Crofton Drive, which basically functions as the entrance to the shopping center. And it also has acceleration and deceleration lanes to turn into the shopping center or leave the shopping center onto Route 3. 3 Cheers would be the only packaged goods store on the east side of Route 3 for approximately 2 miles as the crow flies. Other packaged goods stores in the vicinity on the west side are accessed off of Davidsonville Road, which is a minor arterial designation, or Defense Highway, where you have actually 2 liquor stores. You've got Crofton Liquors and you've got Fat Boys Restaurant and Liquor Store. The proposed location is in a shopping center that also has a Gold's Gym and a grocery store, as you've heard. The draw will be more than just the neighborhoods, the populations around this particular center, but all the people that come to that shopping center who want to make a one-stop shop. They can buy their groceries and then they can buy their spirits, wine, beer, whatever. The site doesn't only accommodate the public, it may even increase safety on the roads by reducing the number of trips the cars have to make. If you want to go from the shopping center to, for example, 424 Liquors, you have to turn right out of the shopping center and then get on Davidsonville Road, and then it's almost an immediate right to get into 424 Liquors. You'd be eliminating that turning movement.
Now, Mr. Aronson, you're aware that there currently exists other points of off-sale alcoholic beverages in the general area, correct?
Yeah, there's 7.
And
at least I counted 7.
Can you tell the board why you believe that there is a need to accommodate the public with this additional Class A license of 6,000 square feet?
I think that if you look at Route 3 as the sort of barrier that it is between the properties on the east and the properties on the west, that you could say that actually there aren't 7 liquor stores in the immediate vicinity, that you've only got 424, Angel's Share, Fat Boys, and Crofton Liquors. I believe that any time you give people an opportunity to turn safely on and off a well-traveled highway and go into a large parking lot, that you are accommodating the public in such a way that the need is there. Looking at the population numbers, which I provided in my report, I looked at all the census tracts in Anne Arundel County within 3 miles of this location. And between 2010 and 2020, there was a population increase of 6,700 units or people, plus or minus. And in terms of households, an increase of about 2,000, 2,050. So it's not spiraling exponential growth, but the area is growing. And a lot of that growth is actually the Two Rivers development, which is out there.
And if I may, I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but we picked up a typo in the report, and I submitted Ladia, so it's no new licenses since 2020.
Okay.
I believe that's what he testified to.
And there was another typo I picked up, and that was on page 2 at the top. The combined population is actually 56,974, not the number that I accidentally put in there.
Now, Mr. Aronson, is it your opinion that not only given the growth in the immediate area, but the fact that this, the Crofton Center is a regional center, that there's sufficient sales, sufficient purchase power, if you would, to support this new license?
I believe that the patrons of the packaged goods stores are going to be more than just people that live around there. I mean, Crofton, whole Waugh Chapel area is a major mixed-use commercial center with offices, retail, service employees who may want to stop by on their way home and pick something up. So there's more people out there than just the residential population in the various neighborhoods.
So would it be your opinion that the current liquor stores, current off-sale licenses are not serving this destination customer who's coming to the Crofton Center?
I don't know where the people who are coming to the Crofton Center are going to purchase alcoholic beverages. I do know that if they are planning to purchase alcoholic beverages while they're out in that area, they're going to have to turn onto a highway and then turn off of a highway somewhere. If there is a alcoholic beverage store in the shopping center, they'll just go over to the alcoholic beverage center that's in the shopping center that they're already patronizing.
Now, in that same vein, can you speak to the consumption patterns of the general public, and particularly consumption patterns here in Anne Arundel County, consumption of alcoholic beverages?
I can certainly speak to mine. Looking at, and I've got the cover sheets here, looking at data from the Comptroller's Office, data from National Institute, ironically enough, on alcohol abuse and alcoholism. Distilled spirits consumption in Anne Arundel County grew to 3.17 gallons in 2023, which was 10% higher than it was in 2022.
Now, that's after historic rises in consumption during the COVID closures.
Yeah, but consumption really went up during COVID.
And then there was a drop off in 2022, 2023 generally. Is that what I understand?
Yep.
I understand as well. But here in Anne Arundel County, it was actually an increase in consumption.
Wait, one more. Okay, sorry about that. I'm sorry, Mr. Bitton, would you repeat that?
Actually, here in Anne Arundel County, there was a higher increase than the norm in consumption patterns.
Yes, I think so.
And that those consumption patterns have remained up after their initial downturn after COVID. Is that correct?
It looks like that's the case.
So if I understand your report, there's increased consumption of alcoholic beverages in the area. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that this being a regional shopping center draws from a larger trade area than perhaps the existing stores, alcoholic beverage stores, Class A off-sale stores perform currently.
That's correct.
Now, did you look at the impact that this license, if it's granted, would have on the health, safety, welfare of the community, particularly traffic and crime, parking?
The location, this is going to be an inline store in a shopping center that's got some pretty big tenants. Based upon my experience, I can't see how a liquor store here would have any negative impacts on crime, traffic, public health, safety, and welfare. There's no reason to assume that would happen.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Hyatt?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Harrison, in your report, you use a variety of census tracts that are within the vicinity of this property, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that, is your conclusion that that's the market area, more or less?
I don't know if that's the market area, but that's, we just went out 3 miles and looked at census tracts.
So then why did you do that?
Well, the same reason, I guess, why you do a 10-minute drive or a 5-minute drive.
I mean, isn't that where the bulk of the customers would come from, within a 10-minute drive?
The line that I drew at 3 miles is where most of the neighborhoods and residents are out there.
Right. And that's the market, isn't it, for this store?
Well, no, because what Mr. Ginsburg and I have been saying was that because this functions as a more regional shopping center, a lot more people are going in there than are in the immediate vicinity or within a radius.
Well, I know you've used that term regional shopping center. We've heard that a couple times tonight, but why you say is regional shopping center? You didn't say that in your report. It's a neighborhood shopping center with a grocery store. Isn't that correct?
Well, in an at-home store and a Gold's Gym. I mean, I just heard Mr. Ginsburg testimony, and he's the expert on that, and he called it regional.
But that's not what you called it in your report.
I don't know if I called it anything.
But for our purposes, 3 mile radius is what you studied, and that's where you determined there was a need for
That's what I studied.
another alcoholic beverage.
That's correct, Mr. Hyde.
And you indicated that the population growth in those census tracts from 2010 to 2020 went up by 6,750 people, right?
That's correct.
That's not very much growth, is it?
I believe
Over 10 years?
I believe I said in my testimony that it's not really exponential growth, no.
It's pretty light growth, isn't it?
But it's still growth.
I understand, but it's not negative, but it's pretty light, wouldn't you agree?
2,000 new households. I'm not going to speculate because I can't say if that's heavy or light in Crofton. Crofton is an older established area. And I did note that a lot of that probably came from Two Rivers.
So how do you account for demand for alcohol county-wide? How does that factor into whether a store, a Class A license is needed at this location?
You have to go with the data you have, Mr. Hyde. And the data that we have from the comptroller's office is countywide. So you assume that there's a baseline across the county, and probably some people drink a little bit more and some people drink a little bit less.
But that doesn't relate to this particular location. It's countywide, right?
That location's in Anne Arundel County, and I used the Anne Arundel County data.
Okay. You mentioned you obtained information from the comptroller. Did you obtain a total of alcoholic beverage sales from package stores within the market area?
I just used their summaries in their annual reports from 21 and 22. Mm-hmm. That's all I used.
And is that also growing, or is that shrinking?
Well, the data showed an increase in alcoholic beverage consumption in Anne Arundel County.
But
I'd say
not
that's
in the
growing.
market area, right?
Well, it's data for Anne Arundel County.
Okay, all right.
I mean, the market area could have grown faster, it could have grown slower.
So you don't know, is the answer, right?
Right, I'm just trying to make an educated assumption.
Okay. Would you agree that it would be unusual for this board to grant a Class A license that's 900 feet from another Class A license?
Objection, that's way beyond his scope.
I don't think
Testified,
it is.
we'll overrule it. I think he's testified as an expert before he's seen this.
Well, they approved Crofton Liquors and Fat Boys right next to each other. Those are probably 50 feet away from each other. So it's just hard to say. I mean, the board has ample discretion based upon the evidence that's presented to them.
I understand that, but when you're 900 feet apart, isn't it a tall order to say that there's a public need for another Class A establishment that's on the same side of Route 3?
Objection to the formal question.
Overruled.
Would you run that by me again?
Sure. Let me rephrase it. We would have, if this license is granted, we would have 2 Class A licenses on the same side of Route 3, 900 feet away from one another.
Well, I came up with about 1,000 feet, but we're pretty close.
I'll show you the distance map in a minute. Okay.
Well, I went out the driveway, turned right onto Defense Highway, and then turned right into not as the crow flies. But I won't quibble with you over 100 feet.
Okay. And don't you think that would be unusual? And you think that satisfies the public need when they're that close together?
I think it probably does, based upon the testimony that we've given.
All right. Did you analyze whether this license, at a 6,000 square foot store, would have a negative impact on any of the other licenses? Any of the other Class A licenses within the market area?
I stated the Class A licenses that are in the area, and based upon population growth and growth in consumption of alcoholic beverages, came to the conclusion that there was public need.
I understand that. That's your conclusion. I get that. But my question is whether you believe this establishment at this shopping center, 6,000 square foot Class A, would have a detrimental effect or a negative effect on other Class A licenses that you enumerated. Where would the sales come from? In other words,
The sales would come from people who are coming to the shopping center, people who are driving probably northbound on Route 3, and from people who live in the area.
all right.
A lot of people.
So how about answering the question, did you analyze whether there would be a negative effect on any of these 7 Class A licenses that are within the vicinity?
How do you define a negative effect? Do I think that it'll introduce more competition in the area? Yeah, it will.
It will have a negative effect. You would
No,
agree.
there'll be
Objection, that's not what
competition.
he said.
All right, well then, look, I'd like him to answer the question. That's what I'm asking.
Well, it could cause them to up their game too.
But you didn't analyze whether there would be a negative effect on other Class A licenses?
On any particular store.
On any of the 7? No. Okay, you didn't do that. Okay. That's all I wanted to know. Do you know what the anticipated volume of sales would be out of this 6,000 foot proposed store?
No,
Do you know what the average store sales are in the area?
no.
Okay, thank you. I have no questions. No further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Bittner, redirect.
Thank you. So, Mr. Arzin, you didn't do a direct analysis as to what, if any, effect this new store might have on the existing stores because you found that there's an existing need, correct?
Yeah, I'm not qualified to do a market study. I studied the demographics of the area, general, who's using the shopping center in terms of a regional center, and just tried to look at need based upon the growth in population, convenient, accessible location, and growth in alcoholic beverage consumption.
So if I understand that you found the need based on growth in the area, growth in consumption, is that right?
Correct.
And if I understood your testimony and your report correctly, your opinion is also based on the unique nature of this location being a regional shopping center.
Correct.
So you may not have used that term of art in your report.
That's correct.
Now, based on your experience, would you agree with me that the physical distance between any two off-sale points of alcoholic beverages is not the sole dispositive question on whether or not there's a need to accommodate the public?
No, it's not.
And the board certainly is well aware of where and how things are located throughout the county, and we know there are many places, and I'll just ask you to take administrative notice of your own records, where they're in close proximity across the street next to each other. I'll save further comments for closing on that. Thank you. That's all the questions I have of Mr. Aarons.
Mr. Hyatt, any recross?
Mr. Harrison, I would acknowledge that it's not the sole factor, proximity, but it's pretty important, isn't it?
You know, half of trying to do transportation planning was always the psychology of the driver and what the driver was willing to do. I think that distance is important, but I also think that how you navigate that distance could be important as well.
And tonight, we're calling the giant anchored shopping center a regional shopping center, aren't we? Right?
That's what it was called, yes.
Okay. Well, if that's a regional shopping center, what would you call Arundel Mills, for example?
A pretty big mall.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Hyatt?
No.
Anything in follow-up, Mr. Bittner?
Mr. Aarons, what makes the Crofton Center a regional shopping center is the location of the only at-home store in the general vicinity. Isn't that right?
You asking a question, or you're giving him the answer?
Well, who's leading? Let me rephrase the question. Does the fact that an at-home store being located in the Crofton Center make any difference in your analysis?
It gives it a larger draw. And I just want to respond to as well that, you know, you heard the testimony earlier that it's not a neighborhood center. It may not be a center of the scale of an Arundel Mills or even Waugh Chapel across the street, but it still serves a much, much larger area than we're just a giant or something like a giant with a strip center, because you have larger regional draws like Gold's Gym or like At Home.
Anything further, Mr. Bittner?
No.
Mr. Hyatt?
None for me.
All right. Great. Thanks. Mr. Bittner, next witness.
That would be the applicant's case.
Okay. So what we'll do now is we will hear from members of the public, and obviously, Mr. Bittner, you'll have an opportunity to present a closing argument at the culmination of the opponent's case. So this is going to be members of the public. We're going to start off with individuals who wish to testify in favor or in support of this license. So if there's anybody from the public who wishes to testify in support of the granting of this license, please come forward. Mr. Aronson, if you don't mind stepping back, we're going to need that chair for people to testify. So if there's anybody here who wants to testify in support of this license, you can come forward. We're going to ask that you identify yourself, put your name and address on the record, and then Michelle has a nice clock here that can show you the time that you have, okay?
Yeah, my name is Nav Oberoi, 22301 Lost Branch Circle, Ashburn, Virginia.
He's a proponent. He was here and went on record as a proponent.
Okay.
Husband of Miss Career. So I don't believe it's your opportunity right now.
Oh, okay.
So you're against the license?
No,
he's
for
the license. Yeah, I'm gonna have him. Yeah.
I thought you called for a vote.
No. Those who are in favor. No. Sorry.
Apologies.
It's okay. It's getting late.
Please, sir.
If he's in
continue.
favor, we were going to have those individuals in favor of granting the license first, and then individuals who are opposing will go afterwards.
My apologies.
Not a problem. No. Yeah.
And sir, when you're done, I'm going to have you come up here and add your name to the list here.
Sorry?
You need to sign the list up here.
Oh, yes, I would do so, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The reason why I am in favor of this liquor store is the overall experience that we as customers want from a liquor store. There is always a need for a small store where you can get in and get out. However, this being a large 6,000 square feet space, it provides a completely different kind of an experience. And one of the things that I liked about the way this particular business plan was put together is its promotion of local beverages and local distilleries in the Maryland and the Virginia area, where this particular location is going to promote. And it's going to provide that kind of an experience, an eclectic experience to very distinct taste that we see coming in this county, where more people with better taste and better discerning taste would like to explore and experience newer spirits. And that experience will not come from a 900 square feet shop where you're just getting in and getting out. This is more of a very high level experience that this store would like to bring. And and there is market for both. There's market for people who just want to know exactly what they want. Like Mr. Ginsburg said, grab a Coors Light and walk out, while there's another experience where you're looking at very eclectic selections of different types of beverages coming from regional stores and regional distilleries and breweries in the Maryland area, promoting their businesses, promoting their successes, and helping the entire economy with better liquor sale.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, is there anybody else who wishes to testify in support of this license? Okay, nobody coming forward. We'll now turn to the individuals who wish to testify against the issuance of this license. And I see a lot of hands going up. I just want to remind everybody that you're going to have 2 minutes, and if somebody before you says something that's already been said, no need to say it again. It will certainly be considered. So just like the gentleman who testified, come on forward. We're going to get your name and address for the record, and you'll have 2 minutes, okay? Whoever wants to go first can go ahead right next to the microphone. We'll make sure we're ready, and just get your name and address first.
Hi, my name is Yogesh Patel, and my address is 2306 Turnbridge Court, Crofton, Maryland, 21114.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to say, in the 10 years, they say the population growth has been 6,000 plus people. Why are we doubling our stores, number of stores? This will be the 8th liquor store. A&A, Angel Share, and Fat Boys. We have those 3 licenses in those 10 years. This is the 4th one. So that's concerning. I mean, for 6,000 more people, we're doubling the number of our liquor stores. It's ridiculous. Like this gentleman with KNLB, he said, because 424 wanted to move into the bigger store because the store size would help them, but really it was leasing issues. So the landlord wasn't giving them enough lease, so they weren't coming to terms. That's why he ended up selling the store.
Basis of knowledge.
It's just we're not. It's just public comment here.
Yeah, no question. Sure. So just letting you know, if he had to move, they would have moved, because even the new owners, they decided to stay with the same leasing people because they were able to come to the terms. So that's that. Another thing they said about is why was Fat Boys given the license within the same shopping center? I believe that was because they were grandfathered in. I think they had a certain kind of D license or something that they were able to move that in and get that license. That's another point of mine that I wanted to make out of there. Currently, this is the points that I have right now.
Okay, thank you.
I may not inquire.
No, it's just public comment. We're not doing inquiries of members of the public.
Good evening.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Name and address first, please.
Okay, so my name is Mallory Mala. I live at 1711 Jones Falls Court, Crofton, Maryland, 21114. I actually am opposed because I actually work and own and operate actually in the same Crofton Center that they would like to build. I disagree with traffic. It is extremely difficult to get in and out of this shopping center. It is very detrimental to my clientele. I own a salon. You can't even get in. They can't find parking. And at home just generates actually more people to have less parking spots for people that work and operate there. So I think that this would be actually a negative impact on me as a separate business owner, because then I have nowhere else for like my clientele to actually park. So I am opposed because it would impact me, not just their business, but also my business as well. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No question?
No.
Just for the record.
That's fine for the record. It's public comment.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Hall. I reside at 1492 Chatham Court, Crofton, Maryland. I've resided in Maryland for my whole life, for over 34 years, and I know how detrimental this shopping center is for the business and everyone in the community. As someone that literally works with the community and talk to everyone, there's not a need for another liquor store. We already have 8 in our whole county for Crofton, and it's an overabundance. Also, for the fact that that shopping center, people go grocery shopping, they do stop by 424 to go get their items, and that would take away business from them as well.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Charles Kim. I own the R&B liquor store just across the street to 424.
Can we get your address, please?
1286 Maryland Route 3 South, Crofton, Maryland 21114. Every year, the liquor, wine, beer increase. But since several years, Angel Share, AA, they open it, we decrease our annual sale. So which means already have 8 of them in that area. So I hope it's enough. They keep saying the increased population growing. That people drinking, not at all, right? Just to increase a little bit of people drinking. So I say, please, not that open that area, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, if I just make, for
Understood.
the record, I
Understood.
would have had questions.
No doubt in my mind, Mr. Bittner.
I can proffer for the record.
Yeah, my name is Robert Ray. My address is 1708 Braddock Drive, Crofton, Maryland, 21114. I was a licensee at 424 Wine and Spirits for 44 years, until recently when we sold. A couple of things since our name was brought up in here tonight. Did we explore moving to the center at that location? Yes. And why did we do it? Because we had a very contentious attempt at a sale with our landlord, who was doing some extraordinary things to try to block us. So it would be less than due diligence for us not to at least explore all of our options, which is the only thing we were doing. It was not something that we really wanted to do. It would very much been a last option for us. And to characterize it as anything else is just not true. So fortunately, everything got straightened out. We found great owners now to take over the store, local businessman who owns us, which you'll meet later, or you may get to talk to later. One other thing, I don't want to step on what anybody else said. When their expert talked about growth and consumption, they made it a big deal about growth and consumption. If you go back and listen to what he testified about, he only talked about distilled spirits. Now, the state of Maryland, the comptroller's office tracks 3 different types: distilled spirits, beer, and wine. Now, he conveniently left out beer and wine because I think if he would have put it in there, you would see that everything was going down, and beer, the distilled spirits going up. We all know that. Whiskeys are more popular, scotches, those kind of things. But the beer and the wine, which we also depend on, are down. And I think it's kind of a convenient thing that he left out, but something that the board may want to take a look at to make sure they have all the facts. So thank you so much.
Anybody?
Hello, my name is Sam Cheney, 2701 Middle Neck Road, Odenton, Maryland, 21114. I just have some bullet points of things that I said, so I'm going to just run through them in no particular order. First off, I keep hearing the word regional shopping center. Well, I can tell you that I owned a bar and restaurant in that shopping center years ago. When Gold's Gym first came in, it didn't help us at all. The people that go to Gold's Gym wanted to get in and get out as fast as they could. I worked closely with the GM, John, and the owner, Bruce. I actually have a lifetime free membership there because of all the help that I gave Bruce in the beginning. They helped write our menus, they helped promote, they did all kinds of things, and we still never saw business from Gold's Gym. Those people get in and get out. The regional shopping center in the area is Wall Chapel. Excuse me. Angel Share is 5,200 feet away from, on the same exact side of the road. PG County is no longer restricted like we were testified earlier. I go to Rips and Crescent myself on Sundays sometimes just to look at different stores. Let's see. I already said that. A couple things here. So I don't know the new owners of 424, but I do feel for them. The board has graciously allowed my store to expand in the past 4 months and has also allowed Village to expand as well. I know we've spent a couple $100,000 in doing that. I can only assume that Village has done the same. I don't know the sale price of what 424 was sold for, but I can assume it was a couple $1 million as well. You know, it's a business that's been in town for 44 years. They are the local store in town. And I see another liquor store just putting a huge financial burden with so many liquor stores being in that 3.8 mile stretch. And if you expand out to 5 miles, I believe there's 12 or 13 liquor stores. We all sell local beverages. We specialize in it. We're known for it. And the other thing that's been kind of left out is with the new licenses that people have talked about that have come in since the population growth, there is a store.
That's it?
10,000 square feet.
Okay. Any other members of the public would like to testify? Okay. Mr. Bittner, do you have any rebuttal testimony that you'd like to provide by calling any witnesses before we turn the case over to Mr. Hyatt?
Well, wasn't allowed to ask them any questions.
It's public comment.
I don't know how I would have a rebuttal now for them. I thought my rebuttal would come perhaps after Mr. Hyatt's case. So I'm just.
Well, the ground rules were laid out at the outset of this, and if you want to call any witnesses to refute when you believe may be improper testimony from members of the public, you're certainly willing to do that and able to do it.
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hyatt, call your first witness.
Thank you. I'll call Ranjit Handal. Could you please state your name and address for the record, please?
Ranjit Hundal, 11313 Marble Ridge Road, Upper Marlboro, Maryland, 20772.
Are you a licensee of the business known as 424 Wine and Spirits?
Yes, sir.
And you're also an owner of the establishment or the corporation known as Hundal and Sandu Spirits, Inc. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been the owner of 424 Wine and Spirits, or how long has the Hundal and Sandu Spirits, Inc.
I think we would get the license on July, so just only a couple of months, 3-4 months.
So you operate the business?
Operating the business.
And is it true that you also operate the 7-Eleven in that strip center there?
Yes, sir. 7-Eleven next liquor store. I own that store 22 years. Okay. I'm serving the people.
So you're familiar with the neighborhood?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm going to show you this distance map, which we've shared, and I'm going to offer it into the record. Just for purposes of explanation to the board, there's a parcel shown as 60. You see that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, right there.
Is that where 424 Wine and Spirits is located?
Correct, sir.
And then there's a parcel shown as F as in Frank. Is that where the proposed Three Cheers?
Yes, sir.
Establishment would be? And this document shows that it's 900 feet away, right?
Yes, sir.
And parcel 60 actually abuts the shopping center's parking lot, right?
Yeah.
And so if you go toward Route 3 down Davidsonville Road, the entrance into the shopping center where this proposed liquor store would be is like 100 feet, 50 feet from
yes.
you? I mean, it's very close.
Very close, yeah. Next to Checker.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got all for this as our exhibit, first exhibit. We're going to label this A or
Yeah, we can
One.
label it Exhibit A.
Okay.
Mr. Bittner, do you have any questions, or, excuse me, objection over this?
No, I don't.
Okay, it'll be a minute. All right.
As the owner, operator of 424 Wine and Spirits, do you believe that your business would be negatively impacted if the Three Cheers Liquors was open?
Sure, definitely, we lose like almost 50% of our business because all the customers around Crofton go to that big store, and my store is only small store, and it's going to be affect bigger.
And the 20-some years you've been operating the 7-Eleven, Mr. Ray operated the store next to you? Is that who you bought it from?
Yes, sir. We know each other like 22 years.
Okay, and it's
Yeah.
been a center that fed, so to speak, off of the adjacent shopping center?
Yes, sir.
And where do your customers come from, would you say?
Just from Route 3 or Crofton's, sit backside the stores around.
So they're not coming from Baltimore?
No,
or,
no.
Or, I mean,
No,
they're
just local-
coming from the Crofton more or less market?
Yeah.
You obtained signatures on petitions to oppose this, is that right?
Yes, sir.
And did you do that in your store or
Yeah,
other? Okay.
my store.
All right, I'm going to show you these petitions. Actually, there's some additional petitions that you had
I do
given me
have-
earlier.
yeah,
but
yeah.
This is this is what we submitted to the board.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take a
Okay.
scene.
Right, okay. Are these the petitions?
Yes, sir.
And when people signed these, what did you ask them?
I tell him that they're building the new store around here and we don't need necessary. They say, no, we don't need this store built close to the in area. We don't need that.
Okay. I would offer these into the record as Exhibit B.
Any objection, Mr. Bittner?
No.
Those will be admitted.
How big is your store? Do you know?
It's 1,800 square foot or 2,000 maybe.
Mm-hmm. And then you sell beer, wine, and liquor, is that
Liquor,
right?
yes, sir.
Have you observed a surge in business in the time you've been there, or in speaking to Mr. Ray, if you talk to him, have you seen growth substantial growth in the business?
Not really. We are down. Not
You're down in sales from the
Say-
time you
yeah,
bought it?
Bought it, yeah.
Did you know, or how did you find out that this store was going to apply for a license, this 6,000 square foot store? How did you find out about it?
The one customer told me that they're building the new store around here. I said, where? He said, in the Giant. He said, behind my backyard. I said, how is they going to do that? Even I can see from there my store. If I step out from there, I can see that store. How are we going to survive that 6,000 square feet store? And we just bought the store I have a 1.5 million loan on this store. So how am I going to afford, I'm going to be bankrupt if this store open,
And do you work in the store?
Yes, sir.
And the 7-Eleven, both?
Yes, sir, both.
Okay. Thank you.
7-Eleven, my manager run the store, but I'm running the liquor store every day.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Mr. Bittner, questions?
Thank you. Sir, Did I understand that you've been operating 424 for about 3 or 4 months?
My liquor store? Yes, sir.
So you've had, and it's your testimony that since you took over 4 months ago, your sales have gone down?
Sale was always go down when the new ownership change. People don't like it. So, but I was the owner that store. I know the people's, but my sale was, they was declined when they were selling the store. The sale was down before they are, but we now going to be established and we're growing the sales.
And your customers come from the neighborhood, is that right?
All around Crofton. I get from Riverside customer too.
They don't come from Bowie or Annapolis?
No.
They don't come from visit after going to the home store?
From home store, what, sir?
After visiting the at-home store in the Crofton Center?
Yeah, they come over here.
Okay, I thought they came from the neighborhood.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, all the
They don't
neighbors.
come, you're not a destination location. People don't come to your store from Bowie, Annapolis, Fort Meade, do they?
There's some people comes from, like some people stopped up yesterday from DC. He was around in the store and stopped by and grabbed the beers or, you know.
But that's atypical, you'd agree with me.
They all come from all over the place.
Okay. You'd agree with me, sir, that you would view any competition as detrimental to your business, wouldn't you?
Especially close to me, my backyard.
Okay. You yourself didn't see the sign that was posted on the location for this hearing, did you?
I did. I have a picture. I walk around all the times. I see the picture. I have a picture in my phone too.
You didn't see it before the customer told you about it?
No, I'm walking around here. I see that sign. I go to the Giants, get my coffee sometime from the Starbucks, and I see the pizza place next to buy the pizza over there, and I see the sign.
I thought I heard you testify that you learned of this proposed store from a customer.
So, customers talk. They talk every time, you know.
But let me put a little finer point on the question. You first learned of this application from a customer. Is that right?
No, sir. The beer guys also spreading the rules.
So the
and
beer,
I see, yeah.
So the beer guys told you?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't see the sign?
I see the sign, sir.
Before the beer guys told you?
So I walk around all the times, and when I notice, I go there and see the signs.
You front Route 424?
Excuse me?
Your store fronts 424?
Correct.
Principal entrance to Crofton Center is off Route 3 North. Do you agree with
Both
me?
sides. Interest from here too, and interest from that side too.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Mr. Hyatt, any
Just to follow up, your store does get the benefit today of people visiting that regional shopping center next to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No
Any
questions,
Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions? No questions. Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Snoops? All right, Mr. Hyatt, next witness.
Okay, I would call Dr. Gerald Patnode.
Yeah.
You want to switch?
Yeah.
I'm actually got my stuff
Oh, you
spread
good?
out
Okay.
here, so I'd
Then
rather
no-
stay right
no-
where I
no.
am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I know the board knows you, but go ahead and, for the record, state your name and address.
Dr. Gerald R. Patnode, 497 Heritage Drive, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
All right. Dr. Patnode, what is your occupation?
Well, for the last 47 years until this past May, I was a professor of marketing, dean of the School of Business at York College, Pennsylvania, and now operate my own independent consulting practice, which I did prior before becoming an academic. So.
And as part of your consulting practice, you work for applicants and you work for protestants, is that right, regarding?
Well, I do basic economic studies, and I work for a whole variety of people, but yes, I've done them for both applicants and protestants. I would say that probably 85% of my work is for applicants. I do probably 15% of my work in protestant operations. I can say that of the ones that I represent on the Protestant side, probably represents a little less than 50% of those who approach me to act on their behalf, because I simply can't support their thing. And as I told you, if there was no guarantees, you were going to pay my fee, and I was going to do the study, and I would tell you where it came out. And sometimes it comes out that I'm willing to support, and many times it comes out the other way. But yes.
So I'm going to show you a document. Do you recognize that?
Yes, this is my Vita.
Okay, this is your CV, right?
Yes.
As we call it. I'd like to have that labeled as Exhibit C and offered into the record.
Any objection, Mr. Bittner?
No.
Okay.
And
That'll be admitted.
I would ask that Dr. Patton would be accepted as an expert witness in the field of needs analysis and whether it's appropriate for this board to grant an alcoholic beverage license because of his vast experience and his participation many times as an expert before this board.
Mr. Bittner, do you have any objection? Mr. Bittner, do you have?
Well, an expert in needs analysis. Certainly, Dr. Patton is an expert in land use and planning and marketing.
And economics, I would add.
Well, he has testified before this board as an expert many times.
Yeah. In fact, I've worked for Mr. Bittner.
I was just about to say that.
And you guys have been sitting a lot closer before.
So there's no question. How he's been presented as an expert on need analysis, I think that's really too narrow of a couching.
Mr. Hyatt, would you be okay with him to be labeled as an expert in land use and zoning? And you can question him. I mean, would that be acceptable to you?
I would raise an issue.
Well, hold on, I'm not asking you.
I'm going to tell you what my expertise is.
Okay, well, hold on.
He's
hold
asking
on one
me
second.
questions.
Hold on one second.
I think that it is appropriate for him to be considered an expert with respect to whether there's an accommodation to the public for this license application based on his experience as a not just land use expert, but in terms of economic evaluation of licenses.
Okay.
I would ask that he be accepted in that capacity.
Would you be opposed to the?
I would, because there's nothing in the report dealing with need, his economic analysis. You have to have a formulation of how you arrived at your decision. There has to be a methodology, not just a pedigree.
And I think wouldn't you have the opportunity to cross-examine him on that and question him as to how he came to that need? We're just talking about merely whether he can be qualified as an expert in this field.
Right. Subject to my voir dire.
Do you want to voir dire him right now?
Well, I think I'd prefer to hear his testimonies because it's really a voir dire on how he arrived at the conclusion.
Right.
We know his pedigree. I've had no problem with that. It's how he arrived at the conclusion.
And that's fine. So I don't think that's really pertinent. I don't know if that affects his ability to be qualified as an expert. So over your objections that have been noted for the record, we'll qualify him as an expert.
Thank you. Dr. Patton, you were hired to provide evidence about the license request before this board tonight, correct?
Correct.
And you were hired by the folks, one sitting next to me, who own 424 Wine and Spirits.
That's correct.
Right, and they're opposed to this
Yes.
license. Are you familiar with the standards that this board considers in evaluating an application for a Class A license?
I am.
And you're familiar with the state law, the Alcoholic Beverage Article 4-210, which says, among other things, the board shall consider public need and a desire for the license and effect on existing license holders? You aware of that? Did you perform an analysis with respect to this application, whether the Class A license is needed to accommodate the public and whether its granting would satisfy the other criteria that I just referred to?
I have.
You prepared a report, which I'm going to have you refer to in just a moment, but did you also review Mr. Arrison's report that he submitted into the record here?
I did.
Let me just ask you, do you agree with its conclusions?
I didn't see a conclusion in terms of public need and accommodation. His data, to a certain degree, was accurate. I don't have any qualms with his population figures or things of that nature. I would agree that there's been very limited growth in that area. In fact, in my report, I used a little different. Instead of a radius, I used drive time, as this board is well aware of, that from a marketing standpoint, consumption standpoint, drive time makes better sense. And I would even point out that the developer or the broker pointed out that he also uses drive time on occasion in terms of estimating his marketplace. So, but I just did not see anything that dealt with actual demand for alcoholic beverages, nor did I see anything about supply of alcoholic beverages, which would go to need and availability, nor did I see anything in terms of an economic analysis of the impact of what a license would be in this market area.
Okay, so you performed this analysis and you summarized it in a written report dated October 4th, addressed to me. Is that correct?
Correct.
Can you identify this document? Is that the report?
That is it, yes.
I would offer that into the record as our Exhibit D. I've given you, Mr. Bittner, a copy.
Mr. Bittner, any objection?
No.
Okay. That'll be admitted as Exhibit D. Thank you.
Rather than ask you questions at this time, would you summarize?
Sure. Well,
given the lateness of the hour, but I want you to summarize the important features of this report and describe how you arrived at your conclusion, and of course explain what your conclusion is.
Right. I'll start with my conclusion that the market is very well satisfied with the existing licenses in the marketplace. And I've come to that conclusion looking at what actual sales are and looking at using consumer expenditure data, what the average household spends in this marketplace. So in order to get through that, to get to Mr. Bittner's question about how I derived my conclusion, first, the issue is in fact demand, the function of current consumption expenditures for alcoholic beverages. And so that was examined, and I'll give that data in a second. The second is to determine what's happening in terms of population. Is it growing, staying static? Is it decreasing? What's happened over a period of time, which I did examine. And the third, which is really the crux of my argument in terms of why this license is not needed, is that looking at suppliers and the product available in conjunction with that data, making an assessment whether there's a negative impact on a 6,000 square foot license going into that location. In all fairness, my analysis is due primarily for my client, although I do suggest in my report that there is potential negative impact for all 7 of these stores in the market area. And so my data sources and how I come to my conclusion, I use pretty much standard industry sources that have a long history of providing pretty reliable data. Specifically, I use the U.S. Census Population, the Economic Census data, and I use an organization called Claritas, which is an aggregator of this data. So it helps me pull it together and analyze it in very small segments of the market area. And so using Claricas syndicated data. I also use something called IBIS World, that's IBIS, World Industry Data Services, which is a service I pay for at a considerable expense, over $25,000 a year, to do industry analysis all over the country, and specifically by county. And so some of my data came from that. And certainly Anne Arundel County government data, Google mapping services, and also another study that I did, I pulled the Penn State University alcoholic beverage consumption statistics and trends on a national basis for 2023. And those became the basis for my conclusions, right? So key findings, basically, I did look at the market at a 5-minute and a 10-minute drive time, which I thought was appropriate. Within the 5-minute drive time, there are 14,019 persons living, all right, in 5,264 households. The average, in fact, this was the average for the 10-minute drive time, but the average household expenditure for alcoholic beverages per year for alcohol consumed at home is $984 a year. All right. And so if I were to take the population and multiply it by that 984, consumed at home is $5,182,338. All right. If you look at the sales of the stores that are in that 5-minute area, it comes up to just about $5 million as such. So that's being handled fairly well there. So we go to the 10-minute drive time. There are 50,919 persons living in 18,547 households, spending $18,250,248 a year. The population of households in the last 14 years has only increased in this market area by 828 households in the drive time. That's 3,629 persons. The actual sales of, as I said, in the two stores in the 5-minute drive time actually came to $4,623,936, which means that if everybody's spending their potential out there, the $5 million, they're actually spending it outside, a little bit outside the market area. But $4 million is being spent there. The actual sales for all stores within a 10-minute drive time, that's the 7 that we're talking about, is $18,259,274. So it's pretty damn close to what's being spent there. Let's see where I want to go so we don't make this too long. The econometric model used by Claricas projects sales will increase in 2028 up to, 2028 will grow to $22,442,000, up from the 18. So it's 5 years from now. They're talking about a growth of $4 million, which is I don't think enough to start another store. Quite frankly, I don't think it can survive. That's an annual growth rate of less than 1%, a compounded growth rate over 5 years of 4.2%. So I would conclude that the market growth rate is less than 1% a year. All right. Other data from the controller's report, suggests that sales volume has remained relatively stable, and that anything we see in growth is not necessarily a volume, but increases in price. So that accounts for that. I was particularly struck by the applicant's expert talked about the applicant points to a current per capita consumption in Anne Arundel County of 2.51 gallons, with failing to mention that in relationship to what? And so it was in fact 2.51 gallons, failing to mention that The county per capita in 2017 was 2.35 gallons, an increase over 7 years of less than a half a gallon. The crux of why I'm here and why I've agreed to take this case. There are currently 7 stores in this market. The average store doing approximately 2.6 million in sales. All right. The average size of store is somewhere around 3,000 square feet, but most of them are probably a little less than that. A new 6,000 square foot store to open, from my estimate, given what square foot sales are in a market area, my estimate is that the potential sales for this store is $5 million. This is a great location. I would highly recommend that this would be a great location for a liquor store, except for one thing. It's going to bankrupt the nearest competitor. If each store were affected equally, they would lose $700,000 in a no-growth marketplace. However, the reality is the current store within 900 feet of the proposed store would likely suffer the brunt of a loss estimate. My client says he thinks he'd lose 50% of his business. My calculation says he's going to lose 75% of his business, $1.5 million. It was pointed out by several that, the market is growing. All right. In 2021, sales increased by 1%. In 2022, sales in this county decreased 7.1%. In 2023, sales in this county decreased minus 2.7%. In 2024, we actually have a projection that we're going to have a slight increase of 2.15%. Based on the econometric model. That same model says growth through 25 through 28 is projected less than 2% a year. Sales revenue went from $2.6 billion in 2020 to $2.4 billion in 2024. That's a loss of $200 million of business in this county. Where the hell is the growth? That's it.
Thank you. So just to conclude and to reaffirm, the Crofton market, where this proposed Class A license would be located, is certainly not a growth market.
It's not a growth market. It's not a regional shopping center.
Thank you. That concludes my questioning for
Mr. Bittner.
This witness.
Thank you. Doctor, you prepared your report based on your assumption that this, the Crofton Center is not a regional shopping center, correct?
Well, I would also base that on my...
Just ask if you prepared your report based on the fact that you view the shopping center as not a regional shopping center, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So you didn't take into any consideration the draw from outside the 10-mile radius that you analyzed, correct?
Well, I looked at a whole market of 15-minute drive time, and I see no evidence that that shopping center draws from outside that area.
And what study did you make to reach that conclusion?
Well, I would also point out, if you look at my...
My question, what study did you make to support that conclusion? What's your data to support that conclusion?
In terms of, I didn't see any evidence of...
Yeah.
Present it.
I'm sorry?
Present it from your side that it was a regional center. That's all I'm commenting on. That's all.
Sir, you testified that it's, in your opinion, it's not a regional center, and I'm asking you for the basis of your opinion.
Oh, well, that's a different question. Okay. If you look at my resume, if you notice from 1988 to 2003, I was a commercial real estate broker in the state of Maryland, Pennsylvania, all right, and Virginia. I dealt with commercial real estate for that period of time. That is not a regional shopping center. Arundel Mills is a regional shopping center.
Okay, so
it is a neighborhood shopping center by all definitions in the industry.
And do you have any statistics to support that opinion regarding the sales from that center?
I have 14 years of experience of real estate.
So you don't have any statistics?
Oh, in terms of sales in that center? Oh, well, wait a minute. I might be able to help you out there, Mr. Bittner.
Well, there's no statistics in your report, correct?
Well, but I might have statistics here.
Well, so you're going to add them now?
You asked me if I had any statistics. Give me a chance.
Okay. You did. I did.
Okay, so let's look at, you're saying that the home store makes it a regional shopping center. Is that what I understand?
Well, I believe the testimony was that the large Ace Hardware, the new Giant, and along with the Gym all make that a regional draw.
Ace Hardware is a franchise operation owned by an individual business person that buys it. That doesn't make it a national regional store. You may have me at a disadvantage. I thought I had my, well, here we go.
Well, perhaps maybe I should ask another question.
Go ahead, and I'll see if I can find, because I have here a listing of all real retail operations within this region, and I can tell you what their sales are within that area. So then you can tell me.
So you prepared your October 4th report at the request of whom?
Mr. Hyatt.
On behalf of who?
His client.
Okay, who's his client?
The gentleman sitting next to me.
Okay. And who's paid your fee?
He did.
Now, your report, at the request of the client, you've examined the economic viability for a new 6,000 square foot Class A license at 1665 Crofton Center.
Yeah, it's the exact same study I would have done if I was going as a proponent, trying to prove that there was in fact a viable market that would justify a new license in a geographic area.
And it's your opinion that this store, if the license were to be granted, would do approximately $5 million in sales?
I do believe that, yes.
With most of that loss coming from 424 only?
Well, I said there's really no way of knowing how it would be spread out, but if all stores in the area were in fact impacted equally, it would be $700,000 shared. But we know that markets don't work that way, that the brunt would be the closest store. And probably the store furthest away may feel little or no impact.
And of course, you don't have any statistics with you right now to support that opinion, do you?
I can't give you a statistic. No, I would say I'm working on experience and common sense.
Mm-hmm. And of course, consumption patterns are driven by many more factors than just growth. You'd agree with me on that?
Oh, absolutely.
Growth in population?
Absolutely. There's all kinds of things that go into consumption of alcoholic beverages. It has to do with different product classes. The national studies studied, we're actually starting to drink less as a society, so that has some impact.
Well, we're just coming off, you'd agree with me, some of the highest consumption levels ever seen in the industry as a result of the COVID shutdown.
Correct.
And in your report, you reference that 2022 sales decreased 7.10%.
Yes.
Now, first off, that was a decrease after an historic high as a result of in-home consumption.
Without question, yes. I would call that the COVID effect, and that we did in fact see an increase because access to alcohol was limited because of shutdown of restaurants and things of that nature. So people adjusted their drinking habits in terms of where they drank by purchasing it for consumption at home.
And according to your report, that those consumption patterns have rebounded with an increase in 2024 of 2.5% in sales.
Correct. Well, it's
and projected increases.
That was well. Again, it works both ways, Mr. Bitter. We had the increase, then we had it fall down quite a bit, and then we've had a slight increase. That we're still below the numbers that we started with. So we have an increase over the 2.5% that we dropped before. So yeah, we're leveling back up again, but we're going to find equilibrium. I'm not sure where equilibrium is, but I suspect it'll get back in terms of unit volumes. It'll probably be close to where it was pre-COVID.
So with that word salad, consumption is on the rise.
My apologies. Say that again.
Consumption of alcoholic beverages is on the rise. That's your report, 2.15%.
Revenue is on the rise. I can't say that unit consumption is on the rise.
Okay. Revenues generated by purchases of
well, as I have pointed out, is also pointed out by the controller and a few other studies that there's been an increase in the price of alcoholic beverages.
And the statistics reflect that there's been an actual increase in the consumption, the gallons consumed.
I can't show that.
No. Your report reflects in 2017. Excuse me, I'm asking you a question.
Okay.
Your report reflects in 2017 that the average consumption was 2.35 gallons, and today it's 2.51 gallons.
Yes, I'll concede that.
So
consumption is up by half a gallon. From 2017.
And again, your report didn't consider any factors beyond the 10-minute drive time.
I did consider population and some consumption patterns, but it did not play into my report of the 5-minute drive time because 10-minute drive time, because the 10-minute drive time is a typical amount of time based on lots of studies in terms of what people are willing to drive for a liquor store. So 10-minute drive time is pretty typical nationwide.
And all of that indicates in your report that in this area, be it 5 miles, 10 miles, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that population is up and consumption patterns are up. That's what your report reflects, correct?
No, it doesn't. Population is, well, okay, yes, population is up slightly. I wouldn't call it major growth, correct. It is up slightly, and dollars spent are up slightly.
Thank you. No other questions?
Mr. Hyatt, redirect.
No, I think we're good. Yeah.
No further questions.
All right. Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Duffy?
No question.
Commissioner Snoops?
No question.
Okay.
We've heard quite a bit tonight in this last hearing. I've taken into the size of the establishment that wants to open up the application. But
do you have any more witnesses, Mr. Hyatt? Okay.
I do not.
Do you have any rebuttal witnesses, Mr. Bittner?
No, Your no, counsel.
Quite all right. Quite all right. Quite all right. So we have very limited time left that we can be in this room tonight. How long do you both think you'll need for closing?
I'll be very brief and succinct.
Likewise.
Okay, all right. Then we'll knock it out, okay? Mr. Bittner, go ahead.
Thank you. Certainly the board is well versed and well aware of the criteria in section 4210 in deciding whether a license should be granted. And competition in the marketplace is simply not one of those factors. Yes, it's a consideration in terms of the effect on existing licenses. We've heard basically from one license, not from other licensees in the marketplace. The applicant is markedly different than the opponent, 424. The board is not here to regulate competition or to stifle competition. The applicants have presented most respectfully evidence that I believe leads the board to consider by a preponderance of that evidence that there is a public need. Petitions have been submitted by patrons of the shopping center indicating that they would support it, that it's needed. The existing licenses in the area, while we can see are close as the crow flies, except for 424, they're not close in any other way in terms of proximity. This is a very difficult, challenging area for traffic that limits the ability of the neighborhood to get to certain locations, which is part of the reason, I believe, if you credit the testimony of Mr. Ginsburg, why this shopping center continues to have its success, because it is a regional shopping center. It has the only at-home store in in western Anne Arundel County, eastern Prince George's County. You heard Mr. Ginsburg testify about that. You heard that patrons travel longer distances to come to this regional shopping center. Dr. Patnude's report did not consider that. So we believe, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, that we have shown that there is a need and desire for the license. We've shown that this license would be unique in terms of its product availability and what it's actually going to have on its shelves for the public to see and the public to touch. The effect on other licenses, there's been very little credible testimony to that that the board should consider. In terms of parking traffic, that's been passed upon by zoning, and this is a properly zoned location. Been no showing except an opinion of some lay person that there's traffic. Every other indication is that this would reduce traffic. Applicants are fit and proper persons. They have extensive retail experience, and they're very mature in their outlook and how they've come into this application. They haven't come into it with blinders on. They believe there's a need, and we'd ask you to grant the license as requested.
Thank you, Mr. Bittner. Mr. Hyatt.
Thank you. The applicant attempted to prove that there was public need, but just didn't get there. They failed to do that. The applicant also did not address the potential effect on existing license holders. They did not talk about that at all. That was a situation that our expert spoke of, and the licensee of the establishment that would be most affected discussed. It would be a serious, devastating impact on 424 Wine and Spirits if this 6,000 square foot store is allowed to open in a neighborhood shopping center. This is certainly not a regional shopping center. It's not a regional center. It's a neighborhood grocery store anchored center, and because there's an at-home store in the location there, certainly doesn't grow this into a regional center. It's just not what it is. Proximity, while it may not be the be-all and end-all, is pretty darn important. To have another store triple the size of the existing store known as 424 Wine and Spirits, located 900 feet away on the same side as Route 3, would be highly out of order and inappropriate to grant this license. It just isn't. You don't do that because you would crush. And yes, that we're in a free market, but licenses are a privilege; they're not a right, and you have to meet certain criteria to get a license. And to open one up 6,000 feet away, that whether you say as the crow flies or not, it abuts the parking lot where this proposed 6,000-foot store would be. So, at every step of the way, there's nothing unique that was proven tonight with respect to the applicant. I don't think they met the burden of public need. They certainly didn't address the impact on other licenses, and for all those reasons, they fail, and I urge the board to reject this application.
Thank you, Mr. Hyatt. Mr. Bittner, last word.
I'll submit.
Okay. Confer with the chairman briefly.
Yep.
As I was saying, we have heard quite a bit tonight in a fairly short period of time from both sides. I'm going to make a motion that we hold our decision until the next meeting. I know I need time to go over some things, and I believe the other commissioners may as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just adjourn for tonight, but we'll have a decision for you at the next hearing, which is November 12th. Okay?
So you'd like us to return on November the 12th?
Yeah,
Yes.
we have to do it on the record to comply with
Yes.
the Public Meetings Act, the Open Meetings Act. So,
Yeah.
Just check my calendar.
yeah, sure.
None of your experts or anyone else needs to return, with the exception of the licensees and the attorneys.
Thank you. November the 12th? Thank you.
Okay, thank you all, and good night.
All right. Thank you all for being here.
The Anne Arundel County Liquor Board hearing is now closed. Thank you all, and good night.